Welcome, friends and family, to the Local Acts Only podcast. We are joined here by the one and only Cody McCorry. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate your time greatly. So we were discussing earlier where to start, and it's definitely hard for you. But I guess we'll start where you started, I guess. I guess Karmic Juggernaut was your first?
It's a little blurry, but like,
yeah.
We used to cut the grass was technically first because it was just me and Seamus just jamming back in the day, just the two of us. And he's probably the reason that I even met anybody from Karmic Juggernaut.
Really?
Yeah. So I met Kevin, who's the drummer in Karmic, through Seamus, and he like recommended me for the audition for them, and I didn't get it the first time because I was like a long time ago. And then Zach Westfall played bass for Karmic for a little bit, but We Used to Cut the Grass was like definitely happening back then. But then like a year later, I ended up getting the Karmic gig too. So
Gotcha.
kind of around the same time.
It threw me off because I saw Woodpecker was like 2015, right?
Yeah, and that's before I was like really on any recordings with Karmic, but we were like gigging a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like...
Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
When did you join Karmic?
I think that was like 2014 or 2013.
Okay.
About.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what followed the Karmic Juggernaut?
Well, after I joined Karmic, then Kevin, it kind of all like got mixed up because then Kevin joined We Used to Cut the Grass, started doing shows with Karmic and stuff, and then we got the horn section together to do the Frank Zappa stuff, to like start playing that material because we got the tour with like Ike Willis was going to come out and like sing and stuff, and that was like a big deal. So we put together this like big horn section. Kevin was already playing like a second drum set, which is like a very Zappa type instrumentation. And then the band just kind of got really like big instrumentationally from there, and then it kind of just stayed that way. And then like the Thank You Scientist stuff happened like a few years after that.
Where did Homeless Apians fall in there?
So Homeless Apians, that's me and Kevin and Matt Brown. And that probably happened around 2015, like right when we recorded Woodpecker with We Used to Cut the Grass. Me and Kevin and Matt Brown were just hanging out a lot and just started the project.
Gotcha.
And you joined Thank You Scientist around like 2015. Right?
Yeah, I guess 2015 was like a big year now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, so I joined Thank You Scientist. We started recording Stranger Heads Prevail. And then I also did Woodpecker, and Homeless Apians also did Mr. Sun that year.
It was a busy year.
Yeah, that was actually, now that I'm thinking about it, was a lot.
Was that like a issue for you at all, like being in so many projects, or was it?
Not really. I mean, like, because Thank You Scientist is like a national touring act, like that kind of took precedence and maybe it slowed things down for We Used to Cut the Grass, which is maybe why some of the music is just coming out now after like 5 years. But it was never a problem. It was always like, because we're all friends, you know, so we just figure it out.
It seems like a lot of the members in all the bands kind of overlap and stuff. You all just kind of jam together. And
yeah,
stuff.
because we all you know, work and record at the Hangar, which is like our studio in Farmingdale, and you know, we're all just friends from like back in the day. So a lot of like working on each other's projects and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So the process, I was curious as to how you got into Thank You Scientist, because I feel like a lot of people don't recognize or realize that it happens all the time in music and bands all over the industry. It just, you know, members come and go as, you know, for whatever reasons and stuff. But was there like an audition for Thank You Scientist, and like how did that
yeah, there was. It's funny, it's kind of similar to Karmic Juggernaut, where like I kind of messed it up the first time and like didn't get it. But this time with Thank You Scientist, I was just not like in town. Like I got the call to do the audition because Zach Westfall, who used to play for Karmic, recommended me for Thank You Scientist because he was a friend of Tom's. And so I got the call to do it, but I was like on the road with my friends at the time, and I like wasn't going to be home in time to do the audition. So I missed it basically. And then like 2 years or so went by. They had a different bass player for a little bit. And then luckily the same thing happened where I got like the second call to do the audition, and I'd like met up with Tom, and we just like talked about David Lynch movies and like hit it off, and it was all good.
Nice. Oh yeah. What was it? Did you have to? Because I know this happens sometimes. Did you have to I'm assuming like learn all of the songs that like came before?
Yeah, for sure.
So that's something that I was thinking about. The like change of a player, throughout, like in the middle of a band's run, I guess, so to speak. Is it the style is gonna, I feel like, change? Do you feel like
yeah, definitely
that like kind of happened a bit, or
it definitely did. I mean, with Thank You Scientists, like their old bass player Greg Colosino, who's like amazing, was like a killer slap bass dude.
I noticed, yeah, he does like, the slap a lot.
I am terrible at that. So really? Like I had to try to figure that out sort of, so I just kind of adjusted a lot of the parts. So it was definitely a different vibe for sure. But since then I've been, like practiced it some more, and like now I feel like I want to do some more slap bass type stuff because it's fun. But I'm definitely nowhere near as good at it as their old bass player was. So that was like an adjustment. Yeah. But otherwise, it's just like just a bunch of notes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Just a whole bunch of weird riffs that I just have to memorize real fast.
Yeah, I took notice of that. I noticed that you're very jazzy, and you have a lot of very interesting like grooves and stuff, and you're very technical. But now when it comes to, and like I don't know if you experienced this, but like I know that it's happened to me once, but like whenever you like kind of fill in the role, and you learn like the parts for songs that came before, but then you now like catch up and you get to the point where you're writing your own stuff. Do you feel like there's some weird, not like, I don't want to say shoes to fill necessarily, but like, was that just like an odd process kind of to feel like you got to fit into the style of the band, or not really?
Like, I wouldn't say odd. It's like a good thing. Like that moment where you catch up on the old repertoire and then start to do your own stuff is like, that's when you really feel like you're in the band and you're not just like some guy who joined the band anymore, you know? Where it's like you're really like writing this stuff and like making, you have more of a say and compositionally and all that. So that was like a good thing. Like, because we recorded Stranger Heads Prevail 2 weeks after I joined the band, so I just had to learn everything real fast. I didn't write like most of the material on that record, like maybe a tiny bit here and there.
Oh, okay.
But then when we went to do like the record after that, like 3 years later, it was great because like, we'd been practicing it and writing it for like 3 years. So it was like, felt just as much mine as it was like anybody else's in the band. So it was cool.
Yeah. That's really great.
So is it a very like collaborative thing that you guys have where it's like you're all writing your own parts, or are you saying, hey, maybe you should do this too? Or
each tune's a little different. Like sometimes someone will just bring in a chart for everybody, like, sax chart, trumpet chart, whatever. Everyone gets their own thing. They wrote the whole tune and we play it and it like just works great and we're done. Other times it's like, I just have this one idea and then we just all flesh it out together. So kind of each one is balanced a little bit differently.
Gotcha. Do you guys use like traditional style of writing? You chart out everything on sheet music?
Yeah, not all the time, but a lot of the time, yeah.
Oh, that's right. I just feel like you don't see that too much nowadays.
It makes it like when you have like horn and string players, it's a lot more common. With like, I feel like when you're in a band with mostly guitar players and a drummer, it's a lot more rare that people will bring charts to that kind of thing. But once you have like horns and like strings and more like arrangement kind of stuff happening, then just for like organizational purposes, you kind of need it sometimes.
Probably makes everyone's life a little bit easier.
Yeah, especially when it's like music as complicated as the stuff that Tom writes. Just because like if he had to sit down and show me each one of those parts, it would take forever. Right.
You feel like it's not just like in general, but important to be like theoretically versed or trained to do such things? I
think it helps. I mean, I think it's all like situational, like if you're just making like awesome folk records and like you and your band have a totally good rapport where you can just communicate ideas really fast, you may never need charts,
Right.
So it's all situational. I think like if you need them, you need them. If you're trying to play like difficult stuff or classical or jazz or whatever, even jazz, like a lot of people don't know how to read, and that's fine, you know?
Yeah.
It just depends. It really depends like who you're working with and what the music is.
Yeah.
So as far as with We Used to Cut the Grass, I know something I want to talk about for a little bit in a second is the Sun Lab Studios sessions that you guys all do a lot of in all of your bands. But in the credits of the Woodpecker one, it says arranged, like completely arranged by you.
Right.
So did you write the whole entire thing, all the parts, everything?
Yeah, I guess with the exception of like any improvised solos, but yeah.
So something we wanted to ask was, is that something that you would want to do as far as like, I could see you doing like a whole orchestra. Like, do you have like ideas of conducting a whole orchestra?
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely like my dream gig one day. It's something I'm working on, orchestration and stuff like that. Conducting is kind of different. That's like a whole different art. But just arranging and orchestrating like would be sick.
So
and I've gotten to do it in like small amounts here and there. Like I've done like string orchestra stuff, woodwind stuff, all separately, you know, like with like pop songs and stuff like that, but never like a whole orchestra thing.
That's incredible. I love that.
It would be fun. I definitely hope to do it sometime soon.
Would you have any interest or like have thought about being a composer for like film score or like, you know, video game stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. And I've been able to do a little bit of that too. There was a show on Facebook Watch called Human Kind of, which is like an animated series. And I was like, basically did the score for that with Karmic Juggernaut. And we recorded the whole thing at the hangar. It was super fun. My sister wrote the show.
Oh, really?
Like, she got me the gig, sort of.
Oh, wow. That's great.
But it was fun. It was like 21 episodes. We did the music for like every episode. And it was a really good time. And I did a documentary after that called Ride the Wave, which was pretty fun too.
Nice. Now, I'm curious because like being a composer or like arranging for multiple, you know, instruments and stuff, obviously most people would run into the problem of like trying to write a part for instruments that they don't play.
Right.
And I found that interesting because I've always had the dream of like composing for film score and stuff like that. But recently I picked up guitar and and I'm currently trying to like write my own stuff. But then after all these years of being a bassist in bands and then like playing drums and stuff, I realized it's like, all right, I can play this instrument, but can I? Because I kind of don't know how to think like a guitarist, you know? So like when it comes to writing stuff. So I feel like that's kind of has some correlation to, you know, writing for parts that you don't necessarily like play and what role they fill in a full piece and stuff. How did you?
That all falls under the umbrella of orchestration,
right?
And there's like lots of books on orchestration, and like it's a struggle. Like as a composer, to like, there's always going to be that disconnect of like when a guitar player writes something for a trumpet player, it's not going to be the same as if a trumpet player wrote it, because they know their instrument and the limitations of it, like. But over time, like, you know, it's just about doing it. And like, it helps if you have friends who play the instruments you can talk to and be like, hey, I wrote this thing. Is this going to work for you? And frequently there will be like things where it's like, oh, I can't, like, these two notes are too far apart. I can't do that. I can't like do a leap of a 10th in like a 16th note or something like that on a trumpet. That's just insane.
Right.
But then there's instruments that can do that. So you give that part to like the flute or something like that, because they can do crazy leaps really fast. And orchestration is all about just, a lot of it at least is about studying what instruments can do what, so you know who to like give certain parts to.
So that's pretty much kind of like how you got into that, I guess that area of, or like I guess train that muscle, I guess, for the, so to speak, of orchestration.
Just a lot of like independent study and like listening to pieces that I liked and like looking at the scores for stuff that I liked. And you know, YouTube is always a good resource for different, especially for orchestration. Like you can find people talking about their instruments and like all the techniques and different sounds they can get. And recently, like just this last year, I started taking a class at Juilliard. They have this thing called the Evening Division, which is like you can take online classes there. And so I started taking like an orchestration class there to kind of just go back over all the stuff that I've been looking at. And it's been super helpful as far as like just learning all the differences between the instruments.
Oh no, that's interesting. I gotta look into that.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Did you go to school for music otherwise than that?
Like briefly, yeah. I did the new school. I went to Ithaca College for English first, like when I was right out of high school. And then I left after like a year and we used to cut the grass for a little bit. And then went back to the new school in Manhattan to study jazz. But I only did that for like a year or two and then kind of just bailed. So now I'm kind of starting to do a college thing again for the first time, but it's just like one online class, which is like once a week.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, Juilliard, like,
it's been
fuck around with Juilliard, right?
I was not even expecting to get in, but it's been like surprisingly chill and pretty fun.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. Shit. So back a little bit to the Sun Lab Studios. All of your bands have done collaborations with them, right? Like multiple. How did you get hooked up with them? Like, do you know?
That's really all Kevin Grossman. Like, it was his idea. He like came in with the know-how of how to, hook up solar panels to a alternator thing to a car battery, like bring it out into a field somewhere and hook up amps to it. So it was really his brainchild, and that like pre-existed my time in Karmic too. So they were doing that before I even met. Really knew Kevin that well. But yeah, so it was something that Karmic Juggernaut did first before I was in the band. They did the video for Oahu, which is like on their 2012 EP. And they did a Sun Lab for it. I think that was the first like Sun Lab.
Gotcha.
And it's super cool. And then he just started doing it with like every single band he was in and like his friends' bands, and it turned into a whole series.
Yeah, no, those videos are absolutely awesome. Like, definitely shit on any like regular music video kind of for me personally.
Yeah, they're
like
fun.
That,
it's like just
the
fun
live,
to like go somewhere outdoors and weird, like on a rooftop or in the woods, and just play a tune with a band is like really fun.
Where did you do the woodpecker one?
That's at Camp Evans, which actually the same exact place we filmed the Visitors Pomp stuff.
Ah, okay.
It's in a Wall Township. It's just an abandoned military base that like they have like a science center there. The people who run it are super nice, and like you can kind of just low key walk in and they don't bother you. Even though cool. I don't know if you're supposed to do that, but like they've never said anything, and we like bring tons of gear in there. Like, they don't seem to care. it's
brought a whole drum kit, and
we have a nice unspoken thing with the folks at Camp Evans.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I mean, my favorite, like the first thing that I initially heard of yours was We Used to Cut the Grass through Seamus. Like, he showed me that, and he was like, "You ever heard of Thank You Scientist?" And I was like, "No." And he was like, "It's this dude." I was like, "Oh shit! Like, damn, this is really cool." And so I've always been a crazy We Used to Cut the Grass fan.
Cool.
And so the names of all of your bands are very interesting to me, like Karmic Juggernaut, Homeless Apians, We Used to Cut the Grass. Thank You Scientist is that's not as much you. That was a thing before you.
Right. Yeah.
So We Used to Cut the Grass, is that like an ode to, because the videos seem to be this like post-apocalyptic kind of thing, so it's like We Used to Cut the Grass? Or
I mean, I think
am I making something up?
Like a flexible thing. It's basically there's a Frank Zappa song on the album Joe's Garage called "He Used to Cut the Grass," and it's kind of, me and Seamus were like really struggling to come up with a band name that either of us liked, and that was just the one that didn't really annoy either of us too much. So it was like, yeah, this is fine, and like I don't know, like it's not like we want to be a band that is like strictly a Frank Zappa tribute or anything like that, but it just seemed to work, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't get the vibe that it's a Frank Zappa tribute, you know, but I mean, because you could definitely hear.
When we were first starting to play like a lot of live shows is when we had Ike Willis come out and we did a strictly Frank Zappa like tour. And so a lot of people got into the band through that and would come to our shows, and we would be like very much expected to play Zappa tunes. So then it became kind of like a struggle of like, all right, well, we're an original band though, so you gotta like be ready for whatever when you come to the shows. Like, we'll play a couple Zappa tunes for sure because I love Frank Zappa, but it almost became a precarious thing where we almost became a Frank Zappa cover band. That was like not what I wanted at all.
I feel like there's like I know a few bands that struggle with that. One of the people that we work with is I think is still in a band. It's called the Black Ties, and they do a lot of like 60s stuff, and they're like they like come on the mic and they're like, we're not a Beatles cover band. we just like the Beatles and like are influenced by them, so we play a couple songs, but don't just ask us to play the Beatles all night, because we have original stuff too that we want to play.
Luckily, Zappa
is good.
Is not as popular. So we get away with a lot more interpretive type stuff. But it was definitely a thing. I mean, I love Frank Zappa, and that was like definitely part of the genesis of the band. Is like, even though it was just like bass and drums, me and Seamus, we were still covering Frank Zappa songs. So I don't know. It's definitely like, we love to play that music, but it was more of a thing where we wanted people to know us as an original band first and foremost, you know?
I never had the pleasure of being able to see you guys live. I think the last show that you guys did, that Seamus told me about, I was like, yeah, like, let me know. And he just like didn't let me know about it. And I was like, fuck.
It's been just a little bit over a year since the last time he played in front of humans, and it's very sad.
But I remember
to do it again soon.
You guys definitely have had some very interesting shows that you've had before.
We've had some really fun ones.
I think there was one that stands out in my mind. I'm probably gonna butcher it, but something about a cactus or something. Yeah.
That's.
You want to talk a little bit about that?
That's something that I want to record one day. But that's like, so it's called How to Seduce a Cactus, and that was like very much me and Seamus like working together to figure this thing out. And it was like, I wanted to set the goal of like, let me write like a long form piece of music, because I'd never really done that before. Like, been writing 2-minute songs, 3-minute songs. I was like, let me do the composer thing and write a 45-minute song, you know? So I broke it up into like 8 movements, and it's about fucking a cactus. Like, I don't know if this is censored or.
No, you're good. You could go crazy.
You're fine.
Yeah, so it's like 8 steps in the process of how to fuck a cactus. And the instrumentation was like percussion. It was very loose. It was like
the cactus.
Yeah, yes. in every way you can imagine. It was like, how do we figure this out so we can make this last 45 minutes? And like, also, it was for a show at the Saint. Like, we had booked a show at the Saint, and I was like, I don't want to just play the same tunes. Let's like write a whole show just for this show. So we broke it up into 8 movements, and it turned into this kind of guided improvisation type thing where there's like some specific melodies, but a lot of it is just like, oh, this is the time signature, this is the tonality, just go off, you know, kind of thing. So, and it worked out. It like, we had 8 kind of distinct things that happened. And I don't know if it's on YouTube. I should take it down.
Really? Wait, like, before you take it down, I gotta send me the link.
Yeah, it's like, all right, it features like some of my worst theremin playing that I've ever done in my life. It's real pitchy and bad, and it's real loud in the mix too.
Oh man!
So it's just like a board mix from the Saint, you know?
Gotcha.
And we had so much fun that night. It was like one of my favorite shows we've ever done. But when I listen back to it, I'm like, oh, that was terrible. It was like, this should not be on the internet.
Oh my god!
But I posted it like right after it happened, and I think we're gonna actually record it soon. And this is like, that's like 5 years ago too. Now, I think.
I remember he told me about that, and he was like, yeah, we like did a thing about fucking a cactus, and I was like, wait, so like, did you just like go and like fuck with people, or like was it an actual thing? And like he just like didn't let me know.
we had the opportunity, like Scott Stamper at the Saint, who's like a really cool dude. He was like, we want to do a night of like weirdo avant-garde bands. And so we were like, this is great, this is perfect for us. And we had Richie Brown did a set with his project called Is, which is always like weird, improvised, kind of interactive, electronic kind of stuff. It's hard to describe. Who else played that night? There was a dude from the city with a didgeridoo.
Ooh, that's dope.
Forget, man, what was his name? It was like Electric Zoo or something like that. And it was like, the dude was like doing like dubstep tracks, but playing like didgeridoo.
Too Many Zoos?
Over it. I don't know.
That's a group from the city that like is dubstep.
With didgeridoo?
Not with the didgeridoo, but I mean, who knows? They could have used a didgeridoo.
Zoo
knowing
was
them.
for sure in the name. I can remember that distinctly. And my friend Nigel opened up the show, and it was like one of his first gigs in front of people, which was sick. And then we did How to Seduce a Cactus. And it was just very fun, and like the audience didn't hate it.
That's always good,
which was great.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
You mentioned it before. The theremin playing.
I don't even need to be here on it. I'm gonna go take a read my mind.
I find it so real quick. Was bass your first instrument?
Yeah, I mean, I played trombone in like 4th grade, and then I switched to bass.
Okay.
Like, when I was like 11 years old. But,
so you play bass and theremin as well as a saw.
Yep.
And do you play anything else?
I mean, I have, I guess what I would call like composer's technique on piano and guitar, meaning that I'm bad at it, but I can like write songs on it.
Right.
And like I'll record piano stuff and guitar stuff, you know, if I have a bunch of takes where I can just mess it up a bunch of times. But it's not something where I really play it in front of people. I used to play a lot of guitar in Weeds Cut the Grass when it was just me and Seamus, just to like fill it out, and like we did loop station things, and it was fun.
So for something like a saw or like the theremin, those are like two more of the not really common instruments that you see people playing, and theremins more specifically, I know they're like kind of expensive instruments to get into, even like the lower end ones who are a little,
I mean, it depends. You can find cheap ones,
right?
But yeah, they're like they make, there's those Burns theremins that are like $100 on eBay.
Oh, really?
The one that I started playing was a Moog Etherwave, which was like $300.
Right.
But yeah, they're fun. They're really hard to play. It's the first electronic instrument that was like ever invented, actually.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's, yeah, you know what? It seems shocking at first, but I don't know. This kind of seems like some weird Tesla shit that I feel like that old science would come up with.
Like it dates back to like the 20s. They invented the theremin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you, like, I guess, get into playing the theremin, or what made you want to play the theremin? I guess?
Well, I played the saw first, and I picked up a saw because I saw this movie called Delicatessen, which is like this French horror movie, and there's a character in it who plays a handsaw, and there's like a duet between like cello and handsaw at one point, and it's just like one of the coolest sounding things I'd ever heard. And I was like, I mean, I could just go to the hardware store and just try it out. So I did. And I just like practiced a bunch and like would just play along to like Radiohead songs, because they have a lot of like theremin-y kind of stuff happening. And I would just play along on the handsaw until I could like kind of hold a tune. And then after that, I was like, this is kind of just like the poor man's theremin. So I'll try theremin. And then I just got a theremin and tried that.
Right, man. That sounds really good. I know theremin's, like you said, pretty hard to pick up.
I think it's harder than saw, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, just because you have nothing to hold on to. You're literally just like in space trying to keep this thing in tune. Oh my God. You know, you have no frame of reference for where the pitch is other than your ear. You know? Right.
I know that there's some techniques with like hand positioning that you can like stretch out, and you know that that's like your scale or something like that.
Yeah, Carolina Ike, she has like...
I know her, yeah, she's really cool.
Yeah, she's got that hand position system, which I've been like shedding for years, and I still don't have it down. But that's like... I think that's pretty much the standard for how to play the theremin like really accurately. Because it like people play it in classical music. There's like orchestras with theremin and stuff.
Yeah. Now incorporating that into like, you know, just composition, I guess. Like, I feel like a theremin is one of those instruments you got to use like semi-sparingly.
Yeah,
like to not overuse.
It's definitely it's either the right thing or it's not. You know, it's like if you're going for spooky vibes, you know, all the time theremin is good.
You're doing like some 50s Attack of the Aliens type shit.
Yeah, it's good. You know, it works every time. But you know, there are some unexpected ways that it can be cool too. And like when you listen to some like classical stuff that's been adapted to theremin, like Carolina Ike just like kills all this different classical repertoire, and it's like doesn't have that 50s sci-fi vibe. It's just like, because the theremin can just kind of sound like a human voice if you play it really well, you know. And she just like can do stuff on that instrument that I don't even understand. But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Now, one thing that came to mind, like being in these bands where not only is there like theremin, but violin and like saxophone and like all those things. Is there ever time? I mean, probably I don't know. You might have less time than most other bands because all you guys are like very busy with just obviously a lot of things. But where all of you guys get together and just jam and just like improvise,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
How like it might seem like a dumb question, but I just don't know how that would really plan out or like play out with all the technicality for a band like Thank You Scientists.
You
for
mean
example.
like getting together to just improvise with like 7 people? On
Yeah,
set?
exactly. That seems like a
jamming.
lot. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at.
And that's something like large ensemble improvisation is like something that you get used to over time. That's like a very jazz thing, you know, because there's like tons of large ensemble jazz bands who that's their like whole life is like getting together with like 9 people and just making something happen with no plan. And it's a lot of it, I feel like it's a lot about space. Like not everyone should be playing all the time. That's like the first cardinal rule of like in like a large ensemble jazz improvisation, I feel like is like, unless you're going for some really aggressive, noisy type thing,
Right.
like you got to know when to sit out. And it's just, yeah, I mean, that's very much a jazz school kind of thing where it's like, if you know how to improvise and like be tasteful and make space and like figure out what key things are happening in just by ear and just like catch what someone else is doing and follow it and develop it, you know, it's kind of on the spot. It's definitely tough with 7 people, but you know, we figure it out one way or another.
I feel like that'd be incredible. It sounds incredibly fun though. When
It's
get it
definitely fun.
great.
Like when a large ensemble type improvisation works out, it's like the best.
Right. Another thing came to mind. I saw, I think it was like on one of your more recent Instagram posts. You're ripping it up on bass, how you normally do. But I took notice to the bass you were playing. What is that?
It's Ryan Thompson, who is the dude who like taught me everything I know about how to play music, like period.
Ryan Thompson. See, that's okay. Cause Ryan is they have any maybe I was remembering the name wrong, but do they have any relation to Carl Thompson?
No relation, but like he did study with Carl Thompson, so he learned how to build basses from Carl Thompson.
That makes sense because I saw that. I was like, that looks like the flourish that on the cutaway. I was like, that looks like a Carl Thompson. But I saw on the headstock, it like wasn't Carl Thompson's mark.
He like learned from Carl. They're not related, but he learned from him. He was like his apprentice for a little bit or something like that, I think.
Dude, that's awesome. I thought it's like, hey, he got a Carl Thompson.
But he still teaches in Belmar, and he's like the best bass teacher around here. He's like the dude.
That's incredible. I love that.
So he taught you like from what, like when were you playing for a while when you started learning under him, or
I had been playing for like maybe 3 or 4 years.
Self-taught at that point? Or?
No, I was studying with his student, Jack Jobs, and then I started studying with Jack's teacher, Ryan, and he had just opened up the Belmar School of the Musical Arts, which it's not called that anymore. I think it's called Figured Bass now, or maybe this is called Ryan Thompson Bass. It has a different name, but it's the same building in Belmar. It's been there for a while.
Interesting.
That bass, did you design it by any chance, or
No, it's like his design.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Cool.
So something I wanted to circle back to a little bit. Looks like you have all these projects with Seamus. How did you guys meet?
Seamus, I met Seamus at Brookdale.
Okay.
My senior year of high school, I was like just complaining a lot until the guidance counselor let me do a half day. And then they let me do a half day and trade for taking literally just one class at Brookdale. And it was jazz improvisation, which was like a complete joke. And like we didn't even do anything. We would just show up and just sit there. And then usually me and Seamus would just go out and like smoke weed in his car. And then
it's classic strat.
You know how many times I've done that at work?
Yeah. And so we just started hanging out, and then I knew he played drums from like the class. So then like one day we just hung out outside of class and just like, you know, jammed, and we had a good time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We actually have another 2 acquaintances. The one I'll wait till the end to talk about, but you know Chris Krebs?
Yeah, Chris is the man.
How did you get together with him?
I feel like I met him through Matt Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like we've lived in Belmar. Well, I don't know if he lived in Belmar, but he was on the Belmar Arts Council.
Yeah.
Which my dad was on when I was growing up.
Ah.
So I kind of like knew him through that. But when Homeless Apians started happening, like Matt Brown knew him way better than I did.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like, the Krebs are like the kind of family where like you can just kind of walk into their house like anytime, whatever you need kind of thing. They're the best, you know?
I paint with him actually.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's like probably the nicest human beings that I know.
Yeah, the whole Krebs family is A+. They're great.
His son is actually a follower of the podcast. I don't know if he's listening right now, but shout outs to you, Wolfie.
Yeah. Yeah, Wolfie's killing it too. He's like playing tons of guitar now and stuff. I remember when bass was his main thing.
Oh yeah.
At one point.
So circling back kind of to We Used to Cut the Grass and Visitors Pomp, the music video, that's Richard Brown and the other half is Ben Levin.
Yeah, Richie Brown and Ben Levin. Ben Levin did the 3D stuff for the Visitors Pomp 2, which is like the second half, sort of.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah, Ben Levin is a whole other, he's insane.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
you ever want to go
if you
down
haven't
the
seen
best
it.
YouTube rabbit hole there is.
Oh yeah.
Just watch his YouTube channel. He's
fair.
The best.
Nice.
He makes these, it's hard to describe, but like he's in a band called Bent Knee, which is Thank You Sign just toured with them a bunch. They're amazing. But he's like a music educator, I guess you could call him, but he makes these videos that are like the David Lynch version of like music YouTube.
Okay.
It's just like very abstract and bizarre and like tackles all these kind of like deep rooted issues in a weird way. And he does all this insane 3D animation for it. And it's just like really cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I wanted to ask about the samples, and I wrote down coffee ? Also,
Yeah.
What was the coffee thing? Like, is there a meaning behind that, or
We love coffee.
just love coffee?
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. When I first contacted Richie Brown, because Richie Brown has done a bunch of videos for us in the past. He did a Thank You Scientist video. He did a Homeless Apians video.
Mm-hmm.
So when I hit him up for this one, I was like, so this song is basically about aliens, dogs, and coffee. So if you can just do something with that. And that was it. That was the only instruction I gave him.
Wow.
He did a good fucking job.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Crushed it.
Yeah, I mean, with very little instruction, he did a pretty cool, fun video, I think.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I feel like that's a great thing for someone in his position to do when you just kind of feel like you have the room to be creative.
Yeah. Well, yeah, with Richie
kinda...
Brown, like he is like also like Ben Levin, kind of an enigmatic type artist where he kind of has created his own universe with his own aesthetics and everything. So you don't really want to fuck with it too much. It's just like, hey man, do your thing. I know it's going to be great.
Exactly.
You know?
We're going to have you in a part of this because like we know how you do.
Yeah.
And, like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We already knew that we worked well together, you know.
The animation one actually reminded me a lot of like the stuff that Faye does.
Yeah. Well, Faye basically learned 3D animation from Ben because
it all comes together.
You guys are finding all these correlations.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were Thank You Scientist was on tour with Bent Knee, and Faye was basically just hanging out with Ben Levin like every night, just with their laptops, learning how to use Blender, which is like the big 3D animation program.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so she's definitely very much influenced by him.
That makes sense. It's all just coming together beautifully. The one other thing about the song I wanted to ask about was like the samples that you guys are using. What are those from? It's like sci-fi kind of movies, stuff like that.
A lot of it is from The Thing, like not the 80s one, but the 50s one.
The original one, yeah.
Yeah, the original one. Trying to think what other samples are on it. One of them is from Britney Spears' Instagram. Which,
Really?
you know, hashtag free Britney.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And then the last one is just our tour manager for Thank You Scientist, Matt Reynolds. We did a recording session for samples for the last Scientist record, and I had some like extra stuff, and I just just toss that in there.
Is that the all set two kind of?
The what?
Like how you like all set two?
No,
Or
it's
is that is that at the end?
It's the one where he's just like, "Oh my god, I don't care."
Oh yeah. There's one too that's like someone yelling all. Oh yeah, in the beginning,
like
I guess.
Very top. No, that's like me and Kevin just about to record.
Okay.
And I was like engineering the session, and I was like, I'm sipping because I was sipping my coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also sipped his coffee. And that's it.
Wait, so what's the words?
So I say, I'm sipping.
Oh, I'll
says,
sip.
Okay, I'll sip too.
Oh, I thought it was saying all set to, like already.
No, it's another coffee reference.
Okay.
Real time coffee drinking.
Real time
in the studio.
Over my fucking head. Damn, that's meta as hell.
That's what happens when you put stuff on the record that's mixed way too low to even know what the fuck the person's saying.
Yeah.
This is just a nice moment with me and Kevin.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Coffee is magic for jazz musicians.
It is. It's the black blood of creativity.
Yeah, hey, I love that.
My friend Zach told me.
You gotta.
I don't touch the stuff.
It's fine. Honestly, it's really bad for you.
Yeah. That's what I was growing up. I would always see like my mom like couldn't function without 2 cups of coffee in the morning, and I was like, I want to be like that.
It's an addiction. It's like a very real addiction that I've had to get under control in the last couple of years. Where like I don't drink it every day now. I used to drink like an insane amount, and like it, it's an antioxidant. It's good for you in some ways, but it is a really serious drug also, and can affect your mood in pretty wild ways too. Definitely.
It's funny. That was something that me and Joe were talking about a little bit earlier. Like addiction. I'm currently like quitting cigarettes and nicotine.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I'm failing to do.
Joe's failing to follow in my footsteps.
Yeah, my buddy James is doing the same thing right now, man. It's tough. I used to be a full-time smoker also, and it was not easy to stop.
Mm-hmm. How long did you smoke for?
I started smoking when I was like 16, and I smoked like a lot through college. So maybe when I was like 21 or 22, I started cutting back a little bit. I still smoke like a little bit, but like not this is like here and there,
Yeah. That was funny. That's what I was saying I wanted to do. I want to be able to enjoy a cigarette every once in a while.
You ever watch the movie Coffee and Cigarettes?
No.
There's a scene with I think it's Iggy Pop where he's like, you quit so you could have one.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
A whole conversation about how they both quit and they're like feeling way better, and then they both just light up cigarettes. It's great. It's a great movie.
It's great. I gotta watch that one definitely.
That's hilarious.
I love stuff like
that. So something we wanted to talk about a little bit was you're a full-time musician, yes? You're not
pre-coronavirus.
Yeah,
I'd say I have a lot more time on my hands, unfortunately. But yeah,
you're not like, you don't have like a side hustle day job kind of thing anymore.
I have had different jobs over the years. The last few years, I've been able to teach and replace my like day job income with teaching. So I've been able to balance it out that way. But I worked at 10th Ave Burrito for like 6 years, and then I had an office job at Floyd Rose in Wall Township.
Oh, they have
like 2 years.
The guitar.
Yeah, they're in Wall actually.
Really?
I had no clue.
Yeah, James actually is like kind of running the show over there. That's like his main gig.
Really?
Aside from music.
Yeah.
But so I worked for James over there for like 2 years. So, and then when Thank You Scientist started touring a lot, it was like hard to find a job that was going to be okay with me just ditching them for like a month every once in a while. So that's when I was like, I got to figure something else out. So I started teaching more after that.
Do you teach through like a certain...
Well, nowadays I do like Skype mostly.
Okay, so it's not like through like a music school or anything like that?
No, like I've done a few things through music schools, but mostly privately.
Gotcha. Damn.
So something that like I feel a lot of local musicians or indie artists are just not accustomed to is like the idea of being a musician as your job pretty much, or being able to make a living.
I mean, it's still really scary for me. It's like it's definitely not something where I feel super financially stable, especially with everything that happened this year. But it's like there are good months and bad months, and with the touring, that's like maybe about half my income comes from Thank You Scientist, like touring, like selling T-shirts mostly. a lot of it, so much of it is from selling t-shirts. It's insane.
Really, a lot of merch is
the amount that like clubs will pay you to play versus how much money you can make from just selling like merch is wild. It's like more than half, I would say, of what Thank You Scientist makes is from just merch.
Wow, I feel like it's probably that way for almost every band for the most part.
Yeah, and that's why like touring has to come back for the music industry to survive, you know?
Right.
Because like so many bands just rely on just straight up the merch table.
Exactly. I mean, you can do as much as you can with like, you know, you can release music and like people can stream it and stuff, but like touring is where music is.
Yeah, I mean, people are being creative and like the live stream thing is cool and people are donating and stuff.
Twitch,
and, like, buying stuff online and that's great. But it's still definitely like a band-aid on like a larger problem.
Right.
I mean, it's not like it's not a great situation that bands have to sell shirts and stuff to survive, you know, when they used to be able to just put out records and just live on that.
Right.
But you know, it is what it is. Hopefully, I have no idea how things would change in the future to make it easier, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jack.
Oh no, I saw like a breakdown a while ago about like how important it is for musicians to have merch and like try to push their merch, because you like look at the amount of streams that it would take to like equal selling one t-shirt, and it's like
$25 off of Spotify is like you're killing it.
Yeah,
like
literally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely. So little.
Like you made it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, I saw. I think it might have been something similar to what you were talking about, Jack. But it's like the process of where the money goes from like streams, pretty much. So it's like someone like, you know, you get streams on Spotify, but then like all the people that get paid and like this splits off to here, this has to go here, and then it's like 3 cents go to the artist. And it's
crazy.
It's
honestly,
up.
like the whole setup for how royalties and like all that legal stuff works with especially like digital music is like so complicated. It's insane.
Right.
Because you got like mechanical royalties and performance royalties, and they're all different. They all get worked different ways, and it's like there's like synchronization royalties are different for video, and it's this whole thing that people have explained it to me so many times, and I've not retained it once.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that.
It's like, where's my fucking money?
It's like, where's my fucking money?
I feel like that's
my money and I want it now.
Exactly.
I feel like that's something that again is very foreign to indie musicians, because they're the only thing that they're used to is just like the shit they get from like Sweetwater, like their little interface in their bedroom studio, pretty much. And the idea of being signed to a label and like being able to go through all that, it seems like a dream. But then again, like when it does happen, it gets very complicated.
Yeah, it definitely gets complicated pretty fast.
So what was, I guess, like what was the first like experience or situation, I guess, of your life that you entered where you realized that you could achieve that point of, you know, making a living through music, but that stepping stone, like the next level above from just being like an indie like musician kind of vibe, and
that's a good question.
being in a band that's signed.
I think it was like a matter of when I got the film scoring gig for Human Kind of, the animated show, that was like a more money than I had been paid for anything, and I was like confused as to why I was being paid so much. Like also delighted. It was like I was like, whoa, maybe I could do this more often, and then I would be fine. But and then Thank You Scientist, like there have been tons of Thank You Scientist tours where we like came home from like working for a month with like not much to show for it, you know. But then there was like a few Thank You Scientist tours where like it was like, oh, I made kind of the same amount of money as if I had just worked a part-time job for like a whole month, you know? So then it was like, oh, like maybe if we could just make this happen more often, it's kind of like I'm just working a part-time job and I'm just kind of as broke as I was, you know, but like just doing music instead.
Oh, that's good.
You know?
That seems like a pretty,
it was all very like small victories that kind of led to the point where I was like, all right, let me just try to do this full time, see how it goes.
Yeah. What was your first like international tour that you ever did?
The first we went to Europe, and it was actually right after Faye and Joe Galacci and Sam Greenfield joined Thank You Scientist. And their first tour was our first Europe tour, which was just like an administrative disaster. It was like we didn't have a tour manager. We were just figuring it out for ourselves. We didn't know what the channel was. Like we landed in London.
Oh.
We had to drive to Amsterdam day one. Like we were going to just fly there, drive straight to Amsterdam, like no sleep. It was like a 36-hour travel day. And we're like, oh, so we'll just land in London and we'll just drive to Amsterdam and we'll drive through the Channel, which is like the tunnel that goes under the English Channel.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
but it's
didn't know that existed.
We got there and they're like, oh, you need to get tickets for this. And it's like a train that you drive onto. None of us knew, which we should have just Googled it, honestly. We were all just so sure it was just a tunnel like any other tunnel.
Yeah.
But they're like, yeah, no, you guys can't go through this tunnel for like 2 days.
Oh.
And so we had to drive onto a boat instead. And like, it was insane. So and it was just a lot of stuff like that. Like everything that could have gone wrong on that tour pretty much did. So it like broke in Faye and Sam Greenfield and Joe Galacci like real quick because we just had this like insanely exhausting tour in Europe where we didn't even speak the language half the places and it was super confusing.
Galacci.
Yeah.
Been saying Gullis.
Oh yeah, no, it's Galacci.
You gotta learn a little bit every day, right?
Galacci sound.
I was curious when I was like looking into it. Is one of the requirements to join Thank You Scientist that you have to have a sick name?
Yes. Yeah, probably.
So how long is the tours usually?
It depends. There's ones in the States and Canada are like around a month.
Really?
Europe will do like a week or 2 weeks because it's like just more exhausting and expensive. Like you like rack up a pretty insane bill as soon as you fly over there, you know?
Yeah, just getting there. It's like $1,000 a person pretty much.
Yeah, it's not easy to like go over there and actually make any money for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I feel like a lot of people who don't kind of like understand the whole process or the business of the industry and stuff, like the image in their head is like, oh, you know, you get signed to a record label and it's like, it's all good. Like you go on tour and like they kind of pay for it and they make their money. It's like, I don't know. It's not really like that.
Maybe that's how it works for some people, but definitely not for us.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of musicians have to actually like work hard, people. Like,
it's not easy. It's definitely not like a vacation. Definitely not easy street or anything like that. It's really like, going on tour is so expensive. It's like, you're so lucky if you even break even a lot of the time, you know, just for everything.
Yeah, that was something that when we were talking to Joe and Sierra, they were the first ones to have gone on tour, this band with Sales Ahead. But they were talking about it and they were like, yeah, like do it. Like even if you're going to break even, like just go experience it, have fun,
it's
you know.
It's something that you kind of have to start doing at some point. Like even if you're not going to make any money, just to kind of get out there. Yeah, get into the groove of just like touring in general.
Get that exposure as well.
Yeah, and like also like it's going to be hard to develop any kind of following in another city if you never actually go there.
Yeah,
unless you get like super internet famous somehow.
Which is, as we learned, can be tricky in its own way.
It's very hard.
Yeah,
we're trying to do it, but
some people can do it. You know, it's weird. It's one of those things that's hard to predict.
One of our past guests, he said he put a song on SoundCloud and after a while he found out there's like it's popping in Canada or something from the statistics in like Los Angeles.
Oh,
like,
Sebastian.
It's
what's
like
up?
Sebastian.
Yeah, Artie.
Yeah.
It's strange because like I looked at the Spotify stats for Visitors Pomp the other day, and it was like we have more listeners in Russia than we do in the United States.
What?
Really?
And it's like, how is that even possible? I don't know anybody in Russia.
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what Artie said too. He was like, yeah, like I don't really know anyone up in Canada, but apparently I have a big listening base there.
Yeah, it's just like,
oh, look who it is.
Who's this?
Faith.
What's her name?
Faith.
Faith
the cat has joined the podcast.
She's adorable.
It's like a new
has entered the chat room.
No, it's like
entered the chat.
Faith has joined Smash.
Faith.
So, I mean, we talked a little bit about record labels and stuff, kind of like alluded around it. Do you want to take this one because you know the name and the everything
of the label?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah, Thank You Scientist. I believe you guys are still signed to Evil Inc.
We're not. We finished our contract.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to be going independent. This EP, we just recorded like a 4-track EP the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but it's okay. And we're gonna be releasing it independently. I think that's the plan. Okay. It'll be our first like serious independent release, and that presents its own set of problems. It's like, how do we get this into CD stores anywhere?
Right.
Yeah. Because with Evil Inc., we had distribution and stuff like that. They handled, a lot of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But so we're trying to figure out like how Thank You Scientists should go independent, what that apparatus is even going to look like. It's going to be a lot of days of us just hanging out and like putting stuff in boxes and shipping it to people and figure it out.
Yeah. Good way to do it.
Yeah.
Fun.
So you said they did distribution as far as CDs, like they're distributing they were distributing CDs to stores.
Yeah.
Were there a lot of CD sales still nowadays?
I was like, me and Tom were just talking about this the other day. I'm not really sure what percentage of our numbers were actually coming from any CD stores, but like they were putting it in stores, like in US and Europe and Japan too, I think.
Well, I'd be extremely curious as to see the breakdown as far as like
how much
what those CD sales were. Yeah.
Like my instinct is it probably was not a whole lot.
Yeah.
But it was nice to like be on tour and be able to go into like a CD shop and find our record there. That was definitely like a cool feeling. As far as whether it made us any money, I have no idea, but maybe.
That's like probably the main kind of thing of a record label is that they can pretty much take care of kind of promotion in a way. And like,
I feel like that's kind of becoming one of the last essential functions of a record label. It's like promo. They can get your stuff to the distributor that will put it in the stores,
right? Which
is like everything else. I feel like you can kind of do yourself. These days.
Does a record label also handle promotion, like spreading like music around?
It's like it kind of depends on what the deal is and like the record label, how much work they want to put into the band, and like it kind of is different.
Exactly. That's another thing I feel people misconstrued is like everyone's like there's a contract involved.
It
like
depends.
This,
like definitely there are labels who will basically like be your manager in some ways and do everything for you.
Right.
But then there's probably some kind of deal where they're taking like most of your money.
Right. Yeah. Or like ownership of the royalties, copyright of and that's also
it's a very slippery slope.
Definitely.
Like what can seem like a really good deal up front can end up being like totally pointless because like you do a bunch of work, release a bunch of music, and let's say it does well, but like then it's like 5 years later and you have nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
Because it just got absorbed. Definitely happens. But yeah.
Plus like, predatory record labels just try to take advantage of indie artists.
And, every label is different, and I feel like a lot of them really are trying to do a good job and like do stuff, have a real symbiotic relationship with the band and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it just doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah, recently I feel like it's been very rare to hear about like sketchy dealings of record labels, at least like in the modern day.
Right.
I mean, it probably does still exist at some point. It's some places, but
I've definitely been more concerned with Britney Spears' conservatorship. Have you guys heard about this?
I know like a tiny bit of the surface, like that her dad is in control of her something.
I just heard I don't know the latest news on it. I think she just won some kind of court battle where her dad was taken off of it. But I just watched the documentary last night. There's like a New York Times documentary, and it's like when you look back at the Britney Spears era of like how she was treated in the media and how she was made to look insane.
Yeah.
And how like all these big journalists like would just like have these like primetime interviews with her where they just try to make her look bad.
Right.
Because people just ate it up. It's like dystopian in retrospect.
It's really nuts.
It felt like I was watching like a Black Mirror episode or something. It's crazy.
I don't want to like say or recall it incorrectly, but like her her dad was like had ownership of her money, right? It was like taking the money for it. Yeah.
Not just ownership of her money, but with the conservatorship, it's basically like you just control that person's life.
Right. Yeah.
You can make decisions for their business. You can like do whatever, really.
Yeah.
Absolute insanity.
It's so crazy how like if there's like a little monicum of like a image, like you were saying how like the public ate up like just her looking like a mess and stuff, how a ton of people will go out of their way to emphasize that and like make this person look bad just because it's profitable for them. It's kind of messed up.
Highly recommend the documentary. It's like so crazy to watch, because I remember, you know, being a kid when that stuff was happening and be like, wow, she's crazy.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, they're just like abusing this person, you know? It's so nuts.
Yeah, I was gonna say before that, but now I mean even more relevant, like talking about labels. I feel like whenever there's money involved with anything, like 90% of the time or more, like people are taking advantage of people or just trying to get their money.
Yeah, I mean it's a hustle, you know.
Yeah, it's a sad time, I guess.
Yes, the musicians have to hustle, the record labels have to hustle. It's getting to be very like, I mean, it's been unstable, the whole industry, you know, and I feel like that's just one of the symptoms of it, you know.
What do you think like the future of the industry is on the track that it's...
I wish I knew. I feel like with streaming and ever since, you know, free downloads, pirating became a thing, it just opened Pandora's box to where like there may never be money to be made off of recording again, which is like really bad, you know. But I don't know, touring, I hope maybe some positive thing could come out of coronavirus where like live streaming becomes more tenable for people, where like you can make more money off of that, because that's not too hard to do. But I really don't know. I mean, live performance is great, but when that's your only source of income, the job gets like so much harder, you know?
Yeah,
but
for sure.
We'll see. I would be shocked if there was any way that recording came back and became like a huge income source again, but that would be cool. I hope they figure that out.
I mean, even like, when we went from CDs to like digital, it was still kind of like recording was important because you would go on iTunes and you would buy it anyway, you know? But now with Apple Music and Spotify, it's like, who buys music?
Yeah.
And like, there's just so little that goes to the artist from iTunes and Spotify. You know?
Well, as far as streaming or as far as like
when you buy the track on iTunes, that's still like definitely helping the artist a lot more. I mean, Bandcamp is the best.
Yeah.
Although they do take like 15% too. They don't take like a small fee, but Bandcamp I feel like is the best way if you're gonna like buy a digital recording, or if you can just buy the physical CD from the band. That's definitely the best.
Yeah.
What's the like overhead with like iTunes? Like
I forget what
percentage wise.
It's crazy. I think I remember it was like if you buy a song for like. What's the song cost on iTunes? Like 99.
It's like 129 now.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So say it's like 129. Like Apple will take, I think Apple takes like 75 cents of that or something, and then like the record label takes like a huge cut. And again, it just kind of the crumbs just trickle down to the artist.
that's what Thank You Science is trying to figure out now, because digital distribution is so easy to do yourself these days with like CD Baby and DistroKid and TuneCore and all these different services where you can just get your stuff everywhere so fast.
Yeah.
We're like, how much do you really need a record label to do that for you?
I mean, you guys have
and then they're basically
too.
taking like, I don't know, whatever percentage to just do something that you could do in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even with promo, like there's just promotional companies now. Like you can, I mean, they've always exist, but like the way it's evolved, it's like, oh, we have this album that we want to promote or a music video. You can just do a one-time hire for this promo company and be like, hey, this is something we're trying to promote. And then for like, you can obviously pay them, I don't know how, depending on how they do it, like, oh, for a month, 2 months, whatever. And they have mastered the art of getting it everywhere, whether it be ads on Instagram and like ads on websites, whatever it is. Like, you know, they take care of that for you. And like, that's just seems so much more efficient to do.
Yeah. I mean, there's straight up PR companies that you can just hire them to just do that. You know, and then they're not going to take a cut of your music, you know, or anything like that.
Right. You're just like, oh, you pay us to do it and we'll do it.
Hire them for like whatever. You're putting out a record and you hire them for like a month or something, or 3 months, just to like focus on the record.
Right.
And then you don't lose any royalties, you know. It's just a flat fee kind of deal. Which it seems like it makes more sense.
Yeah, I find it kind of sad in a way. We were talking about like recording not being a thing. It kind of, and what you said before with not just with Thank You Scientist, but all of the bands where a huge chunk of the money comes from merch. It's like, it kind of makes me think that most people actually don't care about the music anymore, really. It's like music becomes like the least important thing.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. It's definitely a bummer.
Yeah, which is like fucked up. Like,
the music and the musicians have been pushed to like the very, very bottom of the totem pole.
I don't even know how that's possible. It's like, it's messed up beyond belief.
Yeah, I mean, technology, it's just like, when you have a huge technological leap like we've had, it's hard to control who ends up on the right side of it and who ends up on the wrong side of it, because things happen so fast, So now it's just about trying to fix it.
And just people kind of care about an image, really, or a basket.
I mean, I don't think when the internet was just starting to come out, people were like, oh, music is going to be free soon. It just ended up that way.
Yeah, I mean, like when the internet just happened, like think about fucking LimeWire and what the fuck was the other one? Napster. Yeah, that shit. Like literally the internet was like only a few years old and people already just found a way to fucking...
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, it seems obvious, but like, file sharing, that's what it was like kind of designed for initially. And it's like, of course, people are just going to share everything. Movies, music, they don't have to pay for anything.
Yeah.
But you just don't see stuff like that coming. So it's the excitement of like a new technological development totally obscures anything you might be worried about it doing wrong, Yeah. But that's where we're at.
I feel like something in the future that'll be big will be like recorded live sets, like selling that like it's a movie or something, like
maybe.
Yeah,
kind of defeats the purpose.
I think that would be cool.
That kind of I think that already happens a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like I know there are some bands who have done performances that you can like buy, like basically like renting a video on Amazon or something. Where you can like rent a live performance sort of thing.
I feel like that's a very untapped thing for people, because I mean, especially nowadays, like I mean, lots of people are putting stuff out, but like I feel like a lot of people, I mean, put out like a portion of it and be like, hey, if you want to see the rest of this, buy it. Like you own it, and then it helps us a lot.
Patreon thing, which is another way that musicians are kind of working around this, is like they'll put out a lot of stuff for free on Spotify, or whatever, and it's like out in the public. But it's like, oh, if you want to see my other stuff, just subscribe to this. It's like a small monthly thing, and there's like so much more stuff that you can listen to or watch or whatever. Yeah.
That's what we want to tap into eventually with the podcast, is the Patreon aspect.
Yeah, I've never done it. I feel like it's like I should have done it by now, just because I know so many people who do it. But it's like, it's definitely like a maintenance thing where it's like, then I have to make content for the Patreon on top of everything.
That's the thing that's scary about it. Like you have to be consistent, or else you're just kind of taking people's money.
That's why we haven't started it yet.
I do know people who like aren't super consistent with it, and still like people are just down to support, which is good too.
That's like, also nice.
It's like they'll put up a few things a year that are just little extra things that Patreon people get, but it's not like every week it's like, here's something for my Patreon people.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I've battled both with being like, hey everyone, like I'm not going to be consistent with this yet, but eventually I will be, and hey, I appreciate it if you help out, but I feel like you could definitely do that like somewhat easily, because
I would like to.
I mean, you have a lot of, you do like the bass playthroughs, stuff like that, like posting like the tablatures of your songs and stuff like that. Like that's like tons of content.
I think I'm trying to like maybe get towards doing something like that eventually. I have been trying to post more like bass, like sheet music on like my website and stuff for people to like mess around with, and like I'm teaching a lot more these days, so I might as well like use those materials for something. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that'd definitely be cool.
Oh man, I it was kind of interesting. Would you say, you said before about people recording and being able to like rent and buy, or like live shows and stuff like that? It seems very like not cool to me. It seems very taboo. Like I don't know.
It's not ideal, but I guess, I mean, with the way things are right now, it's kind of like, how many options do we have?
I mean, for like, COVID world, like that makes sense. What else? What are you gonna do? But even this is kind of funny. I think maybe like a year ago or maybe less, like, but before kind of COVID really happened, I had this similar conversation with my brother about plays and musicals. And the topic was pretty much like, why isn't there a streaming service like Netflix or Hulu, but with plays and musicals and stuff like that? And I got really defensive about it because I'm a thespian and I've been for a while, and I was like, that defeats the purpose of a live show and like going to see it on stage and stuff. And then sure enough, I found out, like, I think it was on, I don't know if it was like a specific section on like Amazon Video or something on like Disney Plus or something, but
Disney Plus has.
Yeah, they have. I know Disney Plus has like the recorded of Hamilton.
Oh, I was about to mention it.
I think it's actually on Amazon where there's like fucking recordings of musicals and plays. I was like, why? Yeah. What is the point of this?
I mean, this year it makes sense, but in other times I could see how that would be weird.
Yeah, but, I mean, that's the thing. It's like with COVID, it makes sense, but.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I'm thinking about it. Like the concept of like renting or buying a live performance is like not actually that new, because like, you know, you go to like CD stores and you can find the VHS tapes of like old Sonic Youth shows that they sold. And then, or like
Fish
like
has
Pink
so
Floyd
many.
Live at Pompeii, or the Led Zeppelin movie, which is just like that one live show.
Yeah.
With all the weird interspersed clips of Robert Plant doing like Lord of the Rings shit.
Wait, what is this?
Yeah,
it's called The Song Remains the Same. I had it on VHS when I was a kid. I used to watch it like all the time. Jimmy Page plays Theremin with his head in it.
Oh, that's fucking.
He's like taking a guitar solo and just like hitting a theremin with his head at one point.
Oh, that's pretty metal. Dig that.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, that's like an example of like, that was just a live show that they filmed and then put on tape and sold. You know,
that's crazy. I mean, well, there's also like more to that because, like you said, apparently Robert Plant was doing what, Lord of the Rings shit.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I gotta see this.
Pompeii is kind of special too because they're at Pompeii. They're like at the volcanic ruins.
That's neat.
Just doing like a cool live set. But there's definitely like more normal bands that just literally just put out a live show, you know, on VHS or something or DVD.
If you with any of your projects wanted to do something like that, but like over the top weird, like Pompeii or something like that, what would you?
Honestly, I think the Live at Pompeii Pink Floyd movie was like the inspiration for Sunlab. I'm pretty sure that's like why Kevin. I feel like he's never said that, but I feel like that's why he did it because he talks about that movie all the time.
That makes sense.
Big fan.
I'd want to like do a live set, but at the top of like the Himalayas or some shit.
Yeah. They have some really, really cool like DJ sets that I've been watching recently. There was one that's like literally like in the middle of a fucking jungle, and they just have like drones all around, and then like a generator and a deck and like two DJs. Yeah,
you take like any show and just put it in a weird environment, and it's like automatically more fun.
Yeah. Do you know FKJ?
It sounds familiar.
What he's like a multi-instrumentalist, like he's the only guy and he does everything and like looping stuff. He did I think they're somewhere in France, it's like a salt plain, and he did like a live set like in the middle of a salt plain. That's awesome. And it's like awesome. It's like something Disol or something like that. I don't know. I'll send it to you if you want to check it out. But that's insane. And
FKJ.
I'll
scope it out.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever looked into the concept of like making your own instrument? And that sounds like a weird question.
I mean, I've built like a few, like not like a instrument that's never been made before or anything, but like I made a washtub bass for Homeless Apians. Like we all built our own instruments for that. That was like the premise of the band.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
That was like, we're gonna take all recycled materials and just build instruments out of them, and that'll be the band, and it'll just be a trio. So I did a washtub bass. Matt did he built a guitar out of like a portable grill type thing.
That's sick.
And then Kevin just like, you know, got some buckets and stuff and different trash cymbals and like built a glockenspiel out of wood.
Nice.
We all just like, let's just like cobble some stuff together and it'll just be like a recycled band.
That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I once knew a dude who made a guitar out of an old ammo box, like a military ammo crate. That was pretty dope. But it came to mind, it's like building an instrument for a specific purpose or like something? Because I saw
There's,
this.
Harry Parch. You ever heard of him?
Sounds
I
familiar.
hope I'm getting his name right. He's a composer who's really famous for like modified instruments and like invented instruments and a lot of like quarter tone kind of music.
Right. He might be the one I saw because like I saw a video of someone who they were like, oh, they had to score like a horror film, and like they made this I forget what the hell they named it, but it's just big fucking instrument. It's just a giant box, and they pretty much just invented this instrument that makes all of the crazy horrifying sounds that you would hear in a horror movie. Cool. So it's not necessarily like music, but like
sound effect kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was like an instrument for sound effects and stuff. It was fucking wild. But
yeah, let me Google Harry Parch. I just want to make sure that's actually the right person that I'm thinking of, because he like this composer would like take like pump organs and like detune them so that the whole keyboard was in like quarter tones and stuff.
Shit.
He's nuts. Yeah, it's Harry Parch.
No.
I mean, Kevin makes tons of instruments too. Grossman. He's like always building some weird thing at the hangar. He's got lots of like xylophones made out of different things, and you know he plays handpan.
Those things are. Shouts to Chris Nabeel, a friend of mine. He brought a handpan to our friend Armin's studio.
Nice.
And was like going insane. I was like, what the fuck? He plays didgeridoo too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All
Kevin,
that kind of
Kevin, stuff. He can make them out of like propane tanks now and stuff.
Oh my god.
He's he's like really crafty, you know.
Yeah.
He's become like the Harry Parch of our little community in a way, you know.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I mean, we talked earlier about what theremin, handsaw, bass. You play other instruments as well, right?
Yeah, you said guitar,
just
piano.
like piano,
well, guitar, piano, but
really mostly just for writing.
Right.
Didn't you said something to me? Some horn, some sort of horn thing?
Oh no, I actually misread that. Well, I was looking at the roster of Thank You Scientists. One of the members plays flugelhorn, right? Or someone did.
Andrew Diggory. Well, actually, Joe Galacci too. Andrew Diggory, our old trumpet player, played flugelhorn. I mean, honestly, every trumpet player can double on flugelhorn. It's like so similar that you can kind of just do it. But Joe Galacci plays flugelhorn too.
Right.
Yeah.
It was very weird. Yeah, that was the thing. I read it wrong.
Yeah, that's like a very common orchestral
we
double where like you're kind of expected to be able to do both. It's basically it's like a trumpet but a little lower pitched.
Yeah, it's just bigger.
Yeah.
Oh. Is there anything else you had on your mind, Jack?
There is one thing, because there's a band that we didn't talk about.
Okay.
That and an additional acquaintance of ours. Red Wagon.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Way back.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Your old neighbor Andre, Vanderlyn. Yeah, he. I told him that you were coming on. He was like, oh, dude, ask him about Red Wagon.
Yeah. No, we grew up around the corner from each other, so I literally saw like. So the reason Red Wagon was called that is because my buddy Dave lived around the block, and I would bring my bass amp to his house in like a red wheelbarrow. I just couldn't carry it that far because I was like in 7th grade. So I put my bass amp in a wheelbarrow and just walk over to his house every day and then bring it home.
That had to be like hilarious.
I guess I didn't understand the concept of keeping your amp at the rehearsal space at that point. So I just bring it home. Well, I needed to practice. I only had one too. So I would literally just put it in a wheelbarrow and just walk it down C Street.
That's funny. So we talked a little bit about Belmar Arts earlier. You said your dad was on the board, or is?
Mm-hmm, he was.
Okay.
This was like a long time ago, but it was like right when the Belmar Arts Council first became a thing. He was like the head of it for a few years.
So like musically, were you influenced as a kid a lot and like pushed to do
my
music
dad plays
by him?
Piano, and like I grew up with a piano in the house, but I think because he wanted me to learn piano, I didn't do it. He was like,
I'm gonna play bass.
I'll show you to play piano, and I was like, no, I'll do anything else.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, I wish I had learned piano because it's like really the most useful instrument of any because like it's just the best.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm trying to learn it, you know, in my late 20s, and it's so much harder.
Yeah.
than if I just, you know, took a few piano lessons with my dad when I was like 5. But, you know, what are you gonna do? But I mean, I did get to play the piano because it was in the house, so that helped. You know.
So as for bass, was that mostly Zappa that made you want to like go towards bass, or?
I didn't really know Zappa at that point. It was like my buddy Dave Marion, who is the guitar player in Red Wagon, because Red Wagon will never die.
Bring it back.
He was just like, I was in 7th grade, he was in 8th grade, and he was just like playing way beyond anything any kid our age was able to do, and I was just like really envious of that. So I was like, let me play bass so I can at least be in Dave's band, you know, so I could at least have a function. And then our buddy Kieran started playing drums. It was all just pretty much out of necessity, I think, of like, if we're gonna be in a band, we have to do these 3 things, you know. So I ended up with bass, Kieran ended up with drums. It was just like a reason for us to hang, you know.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm very, very new to all of the instruments that I play. I've been learning piano from the Armin, who I mentioned earlier.
Nice.
And Joe actually teaches me a little bit of bass stuff. But initially it was like I played acoustic guitar and played a little bit of electric, but I was like, everyone's really fucking good at guitar and everyone plays guitar, so I think I should switch to something a little more niche so people want to play with me.
It's definitely, guitar is like one of those things where it is definitely like a very overplayed instrument, but it's also like, it's a great instrument.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it's my least played, but I do still play it a decent amount, you know?
Yeah, I definitely used to play a lot more guitar when I was younger, and also when it was just me and Seamus and we used to cut the grass, there was like a lot of guitar songs. But now that I know Tom Monda, I will probably never touch a guitar in public again. It's just embarrassing. Yeah,
that's how. Did you feel that way a lot, like growing up and playing music? Like, were you very self-conscious about it?
I still am. Like, definitely, like,
really,
stage fright's like still a real thing.
That's incredible.
Especially when you're like getting up to go perform a 45-minute improvised piece about fucking a cactus, and you literally don't know if it's gonna be good or not. You know.
Oh man.
There's a lot of risk involved, and I think, but like, it's over time, like it definitely became a thing that I wanted to like play with, and like kind of almost maybe in like a masochistic kind of way, where it's like, all right, how far can I push this? How much can I possibly disappoint the audience, but still have them somehow like it at the end, you know? And that's something that I got from Zappa for sure, because that was always his like trolling the audience, was like, no one's better at it than him, you know.
That's awesome. I never thought about that like that.
Yeah Trolling the audience is very fun.
I mean,
but it's also a good way to get over stage fright. And have people hate you. Because there's been a lot of there was one We Used to Cut the Grass show at Langosta Lounge where we did it was me and Richie Brown. I had like Richie Brown like in the band that night, because he was like, we were gonna try to start a cult. That was like the premise of the show.
I feel like Seamus might have told me about. I might have heard about this.
It was called Ketonics. It was like Michael Keaton was like the figurehead.
Yeah.
And so we had like we made this whole PowerPoint presentation. We had like brochures. We did the whole thing.
Oh my god!
And this was like,
I remember this.
Yes. And this wasn't at the Saint. You know, like this would have been fine if it was at the Saint, or like, I don't know, a place that's cool with that kind of stupid shit.
Yeah.
But like, this was a restaurant.
Yeah.
Like we're playing in like a nice restaurant on the Asbury Park Boardwalk at like 8 p.m. when there's still families eating and stuff. And we start our show and we're you know, there's songs. We had some songs in between the slides. But like we're like telling people about the cult, trying to get people to Venmo us. Just like straight up just Venmo us. Like I changed my username on Venmo to @MichaelKeaton because it wasn't taken.
Oh my god.
And I had people, and like, yeah, some people did it, like just people who liked us, you know, like our friends, not like, it's not like we actually swayed anybody.
Yeah.
But you know, because like half the room was like our friends who were there to see us, half the people were like people who were just trying to eat dinner and did not know what the fuck was happening and were sad and confused. And my like peak moment from that night was like we were halfway through like talking about one of the tenets of ketonics or whatever, with the slide of like Michael Keaton's face like all warped and shit behind us. And this dude in the back of the room, it's like dead silent. This dude in the back of the room is just like, no one is enjoying this. And I like completely broke in that moment. It was just so fucking funny. Because we were trying to be very serious about it.
That's incredible.
Oh my God.
So like it wasn't even a show at that point. You was like just playing a few songs in between
We played like, it was like a 2-hour gig, and I think we played like 5 songs.
Oh my God.
The rest of it was all just PowerPoint.
That is so funny.
That is incredible.
I'd love it if like a week later, like maybe a couple days after that night, like fucking it's like on the news or on like a, what do you call it, a web blog or some shit. It was like, Michael Keaton's up to some sus shit. He's got like he's got dudes out here in Asbury Park trying to fucking.
We tagged him relentlessly, and nothing came of it.
Oh no!
It is what it is. You win some, you lose some.
That's hilarious.
The dude who books Langos to Lounge, Peter Mantis, deserves so much credit for putting up with us that night. And like even after the show, after people literally were just walking out and like yelling at us, pissed off. I mean, we did bring like people, like there were people there for us, but like, it was, the bartenders didn't have a good time. But Pete was like on our side, and like for a booking agent to be on your side after something like that is pretty cool.
That's dope.
He's the man.
Have you been back there since?
No, and we were back a month later somehow.
Oh my God.
we didn't do that again. I felt bad.
Yeah.
I was like, this was the wrong venue for this idea.
Yeah.
But,
Did you say that you like said that to him or?
No, I didn't. He kind of had a good time somehow. Afterwards, he was like, "Oh, people need to get more culture in their lives."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Cool, Pete,
Bro.
you're the man."
I would have had
what
a
a guy.
blast. I would have had a great time witnessing that.
It was fun. I mean, the people who were there for the show had a good time.
Yeah.
The people who weren't had a bad time.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say if I was there knowing what was gonna happen, I probably would have loved it. But if I was there with my family, I probably would have been like, "What the fuck is happening right now?"
Dinner and people are just like screaming about Michael Keaton on stage with no music. Like,
if I was there not knowing what was going on, I would have been confused for a few minutes. But then, like, when it started to keep going, I would have been so curious to see how long it went. I would have loved it.
Yeah.
But, what was the pitch, I guess, of like,
I mean, what it was is that we've played it on Ghost to Lounge so many times, and this was like a slightly lower budget show, so we couldn't bring the whole band. So it's like, all right, we're gonna have to do something different. We can't just play our normal tunes.
Right.
There was like 5 of us that night, and I was like. And this was after How to Seduce the Cactus too, so like we were like, all right, well, let's do that thing again, where we just do something totally fucking different for a whole show, and that was the idea. It was also like to get Richie Brown involved because it's just fun to do stuff with Richie. Mm-hmm. His whole like his band is it's like it's similar. It kind of feels like he's trying to start a cult at like every show, but like with weird electronic music. Mm-hmm. It's very fun. So it was more of a collaborative thing with him.
Mm-hmm. Definitely gotta check that out. I think I wrote it down. I
think he's got some music on Bandcamp or something.
Yeah,
it's very much like a live type experience.
You gotta see it.
But he'll probably do it again at some point. I hope.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
I saw that Langos Lounge was. They had
Yeah, we actually. Well, not We Just Cut the Grass, but this jazz project that I play with. It's called A Real Human Jazz Band with Audra Mariel. She's like a vocalist. And we just do like, American songbook stuff. Mm-hmm. But we played there Saturday.
Oh, really?
It was pretty fun.
Was that with Blaze and?
I don't think so. It was with
Love Blaze.
It was just
Gotta get him on.
It was Kevin Grossman on drums. Tom was on guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I played upright, and Audra just sang. And it was the day before Valentine's Day.
Yeah. I think Blaze was Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Are you familiar?
Maybe.
Blaze is like huge in Asbury Park.
Yeah, very big.
Maybe, I feel like I probably do know him.
You might know the guy that he recently collaborated with.
I had the honor of meeting him once at a Sonic Bloom show.
Cool.
David Ross Lawn.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he they did a project together.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, the day before yours, Friday.
Okay,
The
nice.
12th. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's why it's in my head.
David writes like really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, they have like I think 7 or so song EP or album together, Velvet Noir.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Definitely. I met him at what's that one place? That one place in Asbury. That narrows it down, right? Bond Street.
Bond Street.
Bond Street, yeah. He played Bond Street and I met him there.
Nice.
Yeah. Trying to think about what else. What you got, Joe?
What the kind of the stepping stones of like getting into the circles of people that float around the music industry in general, like just being able to meet people and like how for the length of this podcast you're just like, oh, how'd you get into this and you get this, it's like, oh, it's just my friend told me about it or something like that. You know, it's being able to get your name and presence in people's head is pretty like important as a musician. So I guess like I don't know, like I was gonna say like how did you do that, but like no one could really answer that. I guess you just kind of like be yourself and just kind of jam out. I guess.
Definitely remember there being like the shift. It was definitely Asbury Park. Like I definitely have the Asbury Park live shows and the Asbury Park music community to thank for the fact that I get to have so many friends who are like also just killing musicians, you know. But I remember it was when me and Seamus started playing with just the two of us, because like before that I had done gigs with Red Wagon, which was you know, my band growing up, and like just basically doing like instrumental Jimi Hendrix covers, you know, just like having a good time. And then Vestibule was a band that I was in after that, which was like a fun like pop punk thing with my buddy Hector, who puts out like pretty cool electronic music now under the name Nectar Gun.
Nectar Gun?
He's like doing some cool stuff. But it was after that. It was like when me and Seamus started doing we used to cut the grass with just the two of us. We would go to open mics, and like we would go to open mics in Asbury at Trinity and the Pope. Do you remember that spot?
Yeah, I remember them.
We would go there, go to the open mic, just set up just bass and drums, and people were just like, what the fuck is wrong with these kids? You know, like, because we were pretty young. Like I was like maybe 18, I think, maybe 19. And I think that's how I met Kevin. And then like Kevin kind of brought me to Karmic, and then Karmic, you know, once I was in Karmic, then I met like a whole bunch of other people.
Right.
So it was really just from doing live shows and meeting people at live shows, especially like open mics, honestly.
Really?
It was those open mics with just me and Seamus back in the day that kind of opened a lot of stuff up.
That's interesting, because I always thought open mics were, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just my experience, but like open mics have never been too kind to me. They're just always like, I don't know, at places where people kind of just don't really necessarily want to be for open mics, and you go up and play one song and like no one really pays attention to it. But yeah, maybe it kind of depends on where you're at.
There's definitely nights like that. I mean, I guess the thing that me and Seamus had going for us is like we were the assholes who showed up with an amplifier and a drum set. It's like most open mics, it's like a lot of acoustic stuff. And so like maintains this like super nice vibe. And then we come in and play this like really dissonant music with just bass and a drum set. That's just like, people can't really talk over it. And I think when your music is like divisive or so controversial in some way or like jarring, it's a good way to just grab attention in like kind of a cheap way.
Yeah, you'll stand out.
And maybe that like worked for us.
Yeah.
Hopefully. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely like a love you or hate you kind of thing.
Yeah,
probably.
And I've always been fine with that. You know? And it's definitely like, I feel like it helps, you know, because like if it's something where people can argue about whether it's good or not, or they like it or they hate it, that's like, at least they're talking about it, you know?
Yeah.
I remember like when Seamus first showed me, I showed Woodpecker to my dad and was like, isn't this so cool? And he was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, are you fucking serious? I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard. What do you mean? What is this?
No, I mean, I totally, I remember my My grandfather was talking about when it was just me and Seamus. My grandfather was telling us about getting us a gig at this like country western bar in like North Jersey. And he was like, but you can't play any of that bing bang boom shit. And I've never heard like anything that describes our sound better than that.
Bing bang
like,
boom shit.
It's definitely like a lot of loud bullshit. It's fun, you know?
But I feel like it's more, I don't want to say complicated or like, can't say like better because that's so like.
Well, we really polished it up for the record.
Yeah.
We definitely tried to make it sound nice and organized.
It's like more complex, I guess you could say, which makes me enjoy it more than like the regular kind of music.
Yeah, I mean that's like, it was also like for the challenge too. That's like when it was just me and Seamus back in the day, it was definitely like, let's play the hardest music we can possibly play. Let's like stretch our chops as far as we can. Even if we embarrass ourselves, at least we'll have gotten better at music. You know, that's a positive thing.
Yeah, for sure. The one other thing with that is like I notice a lot of the music or some of the music, I wouldn't say a majority, but a lot of it is longer, like more fleshed out. What like drew you to that? I know you kind of alluded to it in the beginning a little bit.
Longer songs.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, now I feel like I'm trying to write shorter songs with Thank You Sciences especially, because that's a band where like every song is like 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Like 9-11 minute songs.
Yeah, we're trying to, and we definitely, I think, succeeded hopefully on the new EP. Like they're closer to 5, which is kind of a best case scenario for a prog band, I think. But just making things more concise. Like I love concise, simple pop music. Like that's what I listen to when I drive around. I don't listen to like Frank Zappa all day long, you know? Like I love that stuff.
What's your like go-to pop music?
I really like the new Billie Eilish song, My Future. I've been listening to that shit a lot. It's just like so good. Trying to think what else. Sophie. Faye got me into Sophie recently.
Listen to Dua
Dorian
Lipa.
Electra. Also, Faye got me into Dorian Electra. Amazing.
Dua Lipa.
I know it, like I know it, but I can't think of it.
Oh, you're a bassist. You gotta listen to Dua Lipa.
I'll check it out.
Future Nostalgia. Listen to that on the way home.
I will.
Best album I've heard recently.
Huge Dua Lipa fan.
Yeah, just
good bass stuff on it, but it's like it's pretty like standard bass stuff. It's just good groove, you know.
Yeah,
good groove stuff.
Yeah, I mean a lot of just like simple. Like I love Talking Heads, you know. Like I listen to Talking Heads all day, but I don't think I could listen to like, what's the prog? Like I don't know if I could listen to King Crimson all day. Like I love King Crimson, they're awesome, but that's like I have to be in the mood for it. Whereas like something like Talking Heads or like just good, simple like pop stuff like that, I can like listen to forever.
Casual listening.
Yeah,
kind of.
I don't know. I just like it. It's just like concise. I like when music is concise.
Yeah,
weirdly, that's like not what I ended up doing.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I like to listen to.
Because prog's like all over the place.
It's like the opposite. Is just like how many notes can we put into it? How long can the song be?
Exactly. Well, keeping people's attention, which is crazy because I feel like it could also just be my genre of music that I'm mainly affiliated with, but the longest, like if you make an album that's longer than like 20 minutes or 25 minutes, then people look at you sideways, or like it's just very short, and I feel like that's a product of lack of attention span of most people in the modern era.
Yeah.
But somehow maybe it's just like, you know, prog bands and stuff.
It's sort of a technological byproduct too, because like back in the day you could only record to wax for so long, you know, like the record was only so long.
Yeah.
So singles for, you know, radio play could only be like 2-3 minutes, and I feel like we just never moved on from that, you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I like the fact that like now the medium is getting broken up a little bit more, whereas like you can just put out like a 60-minute noise track on Spotify as one track and that'll be fine, you know. You don't ever have to worry about the physical distribution or anything.
Yeah, that'd be wild.
Yeah.
60 minutes. You have like a quadruple like LP or something for one song. Man, crazy.
People do it for sure. It definitely happens.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the most popular music and like the music that's on the like top 40 stuff like that, it's usually like really simple shit. You know, like,
well, you know, I think with especially new pop music is production is like the melody and the chords will be so like boneheaded.
Yeah.
But the amount that just goes into the layering of the production is like its own. It's like orchestration, you know. It's like anything as advanced as that, which is like the amount of time that just goes into building textures for sound these days is like the same amount that, you know, Bach would put into just notes back in the day.
Yeah.
It's the same level of attention is being put into that, and it shows. It sounds really good, you know.
There's a lot of clarity in a lot of pop music production. I noticed they sound, and a lot of people, there are people who don't really like that. There are a lot of people who would say pop music is like overproduced, but but I don't know. I think it's just pop music is very sharp. It's very clear, and
yeah, you know, there's like any genre. There's good stuff and bad stuff, and like I don't know. I mean, when a track is produced like really well, it just like it almost doesn't like the melody and the chords almost take a back seat at that point. And like I don't love that about pop music, but it's definitely it can work. Like you can have like the simplest melody and the simplest chords, and if you just put like the right level of attention into producing it, it could be like an amazing song. Yeah, you know.
That was something that recently our friend Eric pointed out to me. I was never growing up really that into the Beatles. Like my dad never really exposed me to that. He was big punk rock, like Red Hot Chili Peppers, stuff like that. And so I recently started getting into the Beatles, and I was like, geez, like this is so fucking good, but like a lot of it's like not the most complicated shit ever. And he like sat me down in front of his like big like studio monitors, and I like just heard like the panning and like the engineering, and I was like, oh, okay, this is why it's so good.
Yeah,
like, okay.
They were like the first band to really like show what you could do with a recording studio.
Yeah.
That was like outside of the norm.
Yeah.
And a lot of that should be attributed to George Martin.
Yeah, George Martin.
Like that dude is insane.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, out of curiosity, as a bassist, who do you think is either the best bassist or your favorite?
I mean, I love Thundercat.
We all love
Thundercat's great. He's
Seamus,
funny, you know.
Seamus brought Thundercat into my life.
Yeah, Thundercat's like he's like so good. He writes good songs. He doesn't take himself seriously. His tone is like insanely good and like very unique. Like you know when you're listening to Thundercat versus any other bass player. He's got his own thing, and like that's the balance. Like I feel like there's tons of bass players who can like shred these days and like play lightning speed stuff. But it's like if you can do that and have an identity, that's like what makes a musician for me. Is like I want to be able to know just by hearing, like when you hear Jimi Hendrix playing, you know it's Jimi Hendrix, so you don't need any other context.
Right.
So this is having that uniqueness too on top of the chops.
Exactly.
It's like some kind of identity that's like so different from everybody else. And Thundercat for me like definitely has that.
He's got that groove.
Well, yeah.
Really tight groove.
His songs are just that album. What's it? Drunk?
Drunk. Yeah.
Drunk. That album.
Rip.
Shay showed me that, and I was like,
it's so good.
Jesus. Like what's the one? There's one line where it's like I feel weird. What does he say? He's like, beat my meat,
song.
go to sleep. I feel weird. I was just sitting listening to it. I was like, this is so fucking weird, but it's genius.
Yeah.
Like
that's like that sense of humor, which is like I came to like definitely love with like Frank Zappa. You kind of hear that in Thundercat too.
Yeah,
like,
I feel
the
like
lyrics are just not very serious. Like I have nothing against serious lyrics.
Yeah.
And like he does have some tracks that are like really like deep and fun, but a lot of it's very jokey, and I like that too. You know.
I feel like music's at its best when it doesn't take itself seriously.
Yeah.
Everyone, it just kind of feels like everyone enjoys it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there are definitely like, you know, I'm a huge Radiohead fan too, and they're like the most serious band.
They're like the saddest band of the planet.
They're just the most depressing band ever.
Yeah.
But like, they're definitely easily my top 10.
Doing something right.
So I mean, it goes both ways. But especially for like the chops stuff, where it's like, oh, I shred. Like that's kind of my vibe. That's like my, like when the music is about being a ridiculous musician, I almost need humor to be there.
Yeah.
It's like if it's just about you shredding and you're taking yourself seriously, something about that just doesn't work for me.
Yeah. It kind of seems like, look at me, look how good I am.
Full of yourself.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I feel like you need to have that disclaimer that's like, I'm also a human being. It's not just about me shredding.
Right.
Like I don't take it that seriously.
Speaking of which, should I tell him about the hypothetical
I don't know.
we're talking about?
If you want to, you can.
Hypothetical?
Yeah, I was thinking about it because I've been listening to like all your bands and stuff over the past couple of days and stuff. I was like, I wonder who would like. I mean, it's kind of weird to think about because not to say win, but who would win like a bass battle, like Cody McCorry or Joe Dart.
Oh, yeah,
and
Joe Dart's great.
Joe Dart's fantastic.
He's got that like James Jamerson thing down so tight.
Oh, I know what you're saying. He's very like punctual.
Yeah. It's just like the sound. It's that like super duper retro P-bass sound.
Yeah.
And he just murders it, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, he's very what?
Wolfpack, circling back once again. Shay showed me Wolfpack. I mean, damn.
Wolfpack's great.
What
Sam, the guy who played tenor on all the grass stuff, is in Corey Wong's band.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
He's in I believe Corey Wong's band is just the Corey Wong band, or is it the Green Screen band?
I think it's just under the name Corey Wong, but he also just put out that new thing called Corey Wong and the Wong Notes.
Oh,
I don't know if that's a new band or that's just the name of the show, but it's like a variety show, and Sam is in it, and he's like just shredding. It's really good.
Love that.
On the topic of like not taking yourself seriously, he definitely embodies that very much.
And so does Wolfpack too.
Yeah,
like,
there's that one live set that I think it was Corey Wong, and he's like the first like 5 minutes is him just like trying to do stand up. Kind of, and it like kind of working,
it's like very corny jokes,
but kind of not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
no, he's a super nice guy.
Yeah,
he's great.
I think it was the band Sungazer.
Adam Neely. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. He they do this thing. It was like 4 minutes and 30 seconds or something, or like 4 minutes and 18 seconds or some shit. Or they like literally get ready to play, like everything's good. They did a sound check and stuff, and then they just stand there for like 4 minutes like for no fucking with absolutely nothing. It's dead silent.
Nice.
And like I don't remember why they did it, but they were like
very, very John Cage.
Yeah.
You know the John Cage thing?
No.
So he has a composition, I think it's called 4 minutes and 33 seconds.
Oh, that was it. Yeah.
Oh, is that what it was called?
Yeah, 4 minutes. I think they did the same thing.
That's a John Cage song, which is not a song. It's literally like the dude literally. John Cage at that point in his career was a very well-respected experimental composer. Everyone comes to the concert hall to see like his new piece, you know, that everyone's all hyped. And the pianist comes out on stage, sits down at the piano, has sheet music in front of them. They start the piece and just sit there. And I think at one point there's a page turn. I think that's the only notated thing. The dude sits there, turns the page, continues sitting for like another 2 minutes. The audience is just sitting there, just listening to themselves like cough and breathe, and then it's over.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my! Was there more after that?
No. Well, maybe.
Or
I
it was
would
like,
hope so.
I was gonna say they came here.
Tickets. I hope there's more, but like I don't know if they. I assume they did perform something else that night.
I hope so. Jeez,
yeah.
That's like that.
I didn't know Adam Neely did that. That's fun.
Yeah. Apparently, Sungazer did it, and like I remember he was talking about it. He was like, I think all bands should do cover 4 minutes and 33 seconds, and they were being very like ironically serious about it.
Yeah,
they're
like how big should the band be? Like how many should we have 12 people show up and do it?
Yeah, exactly.
How much gear do you want to set up?
They like set up everything for fucking like absolutely. And they're like, you just kind of like feel the presence of being on stage and everything. They were just like trolling everyone. It was funny.
It was like the day that John Cage just ruined experimental music for everybody. It was like the biggest mic drop. Avant-garde bullshit.
Like you can't really go anywhere else. Like where do you expect like in the future experimental musicians to go?
It's like the maximum troll. You know,
exactly.
Like how do you top it?
There's no way to. I don't think so.
I don't think anyone's gonna figure it out.
Yeah, that's something that I have to do. Just stand there in silence on stage. Maybe the first time I'm on stage, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Just the first like
just open with 4 minutes and 33 seconds.
Yeah. Maybe shit. All right.
I wonder
it's settled.
It's an opener. It's a good opener.
It's a great opener.
It gets people hyped.
Yeah.
I wonder.
No one will say it's bad.
Yeah.
It's just not.
I wonder if the conception of that idea like was because he said he was a very respected like experimental dude. I wonder if he was literally just doing it as to like by means of trolling the audience, or if it was an experiment about like the importance of silence as music.
He seems like the kind of guy who was taking it serious. I don't think it was a joke to him. I mean, maybe it was, but his like, he was, you know, like an absurdist type guy. Like he would have weird instructions in his scores for like, it would be like a normal piece of music, and then it would be like, we crash a helicopter into the stage. Like, you know, and this is like for orchestra, you know, like people who take themselves very seriously.
Wow.
But I think he was taking it seriously too. For him, it was like absurd, but like not totally a joke.
Yeah.
But it's definitely funny, you know?
Because there's the whole like common, I don't know what you would call it, really. Like, I guess the saying or concept amongst musicians, like, you know, the notes you don't play are just as important as the ones you do, and like silence and stuff. So in music is important. So I feel like he probably took that.
It's definitely a concept
and ran with it.
Yeah.
Gotta pay homage. Who was it? Wooten that said it's not the ones you play, it's the ones you don't play?
No, that's a saying that's been around for a long time. I think Thelonious Monk, he said it, like it's in his famous notes to oh man, who's a jazz musician that Thelonious Monk gave his notes to?
I don't know. I was just gonna say there's a cool documentary of John Cage and Roland Kirk.
Yeah.
Where it's like John Cage interviewing Roland Kirk. It's on YouTube.
Oh shit.
Roland Kirk might be somebody that Thelonious Monk would have known. I don't know how those timelines work.
I don't remember.
Roland Kirk was significantly later than Thelonious Monk.
Yeah, he was. I think he was. I don't know, but I know that there's like these. It was like for the new trumpet player. This kid, who was a kid at the time who joined Thelonious Monk's.
Someone played trumpet
band.
For Thelonious Monk.
Yeah, but they went on to be someone important. I just
Freddie
don't
Hubbard,
remember.
Dizzy Gillespie.
I don't. Maybe Gillespie, but
I mean, it's not going to be Miles. I don't think.
No, it's not Miles. But either way, those got really, really famous. Like a lot of people have like those notes like screenshotted, or there's like scans of them and stuff, and that saying is in there somewhere. So I don't know if Thelonious Monk himself was even the first person to say that, but that's just common thing.
There's probably composers who have said that in different words over centuries.
Exactly.
It's just like space is important, you know.
Right. That's Wooten, however, he's a big fan of like chromaticism. He really believes like you should be able
to bottom notes. Some of the bottom notes.
No, you're thinking of the butter notes.
The butter notes.
Butter notes.
Yeah, but no, Victor Wooten's like the type of person you should be able to play every note and it'll work, like no matter what the key is. Type vibe.
Yeah,
you
that's actually that's a cool improvisational exercise too. It's like say if you're jamming on like some kind of C major thing or whatever, to like pick any note that's not in C major and like really harp on it for a second, like A flat or something, and then work it back into the phrase in a way that is musical and makes sense.
Yeah, and it's rough. It's because that's like
it can be super hard, but it's like really good because then you get better at playing out stuff.
Yeah,
that's a fun improvisational exercise.
Because that pretty much would fall under the realm of like modulation, wouldn't it? In a way, because
well, it's probably not, because like unless you're gonna play something that's really an A flat major or like a different key, but if it's if you're doing one note that's out, that's more like chromaticism, I would say.
Yeah.
You know,
I know John Williams, when he composed the like the main theme for Harry Potter, that is with all technicality, I believe, in E major, but it uses all 12 notes in our system. So it's like, but it's just very just bizarre.
Nice
and weird.
I have to listen to that because I don't remember what that theme sounds like.
Yeah, it's the main one. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah,
it does like a 12 tone.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. Not in like the main A section or the phrase, but like throughout the whole piece. Like that's cool. He hits everything at some point. That is definitely
something that like really, like especially classical composers will think about, is like how to get through all the keys in like a fun way. And like modulation and stuff like that. Like Beethoven would do this thing with his string quartets where he would like pick the keys of each movement before he wrote them. He would, like, I want each movement to be like up a major third from the last movement. Kind of like Coltrane, like Giant Steps, the way that's designed.
Oh, okay.
You know, where it's like this kind of larger architecture of how the modulation happens. and then working within that kind of structure that you built for like whatever is going to happen, you know.
That's interesting. I never thought
because
about that.
modulation is like, that's almost like a subliminal thing if it happens over a slow period of time, you know.
Oh yeah,
It's like
definitely.
when you're listening to like a record, like you might have a song in E major, and then the next song is in A major, and then the song after that is in F major, and like you don't think about it, you're just thinking of them as like different songs, but that does like have a kind of an effect on like how the record feels, how the tunes are like modulating from one key to another. And like I feel, for some reason, I feel like people don't focus on that anymore.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, either that or they don't focus on it like in that way, or like they focus on it but they just don't realize it type thing. Like, you know, kind of like if you're in a band and you have all the songs for the album like recorded, but you're thinking about like, all right, the order in which these songs are played is important, so you just kind of listen to them, think about how they feel, and you know, it'd be cool that after this type of song it feels right for this song to be next, and that probably is, like you said, subliminally has to do with modulation, like how
and that's stuff,
it leads you.
It's something that you don't think about, but definitely something that affects how you feel when you listen to it, you know. And that's why composers were used to like be really focused on like what key each movement was going to be in, because like when you go up a fourth, that feels like a big like lift to the audience, you know. Or like when you return to the home key, it's like time to wrap everything up kind of vibe, you know?
Exactly. And especially because like now, like back then, it was all one piece rather than like, it's still considered that way today with an album, but back then it was even more so because they were all movements of the same piece.
If it's like a symphony or something, it's like their version of what an album today, sort of. Yeah. Like Dark Side of the Moon, you could consider like a symphony in some ways, because it's a type of record you have to listen to like start to finish. You know?
Definitely. I'm pretty much that way with everything. I can't listen to like single songs really too much. I mean, unless I know them very well, but that's why whenever someone shows me a band for the first time, they're like, what song's your favorite? And I was like, I don't know. I just listened to the whole album you told me to listen to. So.
Yeah, that's definitely how I mean, Joe can attest to this. I'm the worst music listener ever, because I just listen to the same thing over and over and over and over.
No, that's fine. You know? But like,
don't ask me how many times I've listened to Visitors Pomp. Like, how many times have you told me to turn it off at work?
Man, I apologize.
No, bro, it's not even you, because
stop,
I listened to this song and I was like, this is a great song. But we were at work and it was on repeat, and I didn't realize how long it was on repeat till I checked the clock, and I was like, oh my god, he was playing it for like 3 hours or something. Dude, it was ridiculous.
And then
right, dude. I know people who do that.
I just like blink, and then it's like
I'll do that sometimes. Like I'll be obsessed with this song. Like My Future by Billie Eilish was on repeat for me for a while because it's a great song. But the new Fiona Apple record that came out in 2020, it's really good. I was like so in love with it when I first heard it. Was listening to it for a few days, and I made the mistake of like showing it to my mom, and she really liked it. And then every time I saw my mom, she would just be literally looping songs from that record.
My God.
And now I can't listen to it.
Yeah,
it's like completely ruined it for me. But it's really good. It's an awesome record.
Yeah, our friend, he's in this band Via Ripa. They just released an EP. And so I was like, all right, I got to turn this on before he gets to work, because he's not going to want to hear it that much. So I had it on for like, I don't know, like an hour and a half, 3-song, like 12-minute EP. Yep. And then he gets there, and then he's there for like 30 minutes, and he like pages me, and he's like, dude, something else, please. And I'm like, please sorry, stop. Dude. I really want to listen to it.
That's like a different kind of hell, though, because for the artist who wrote the song and made it, they've listened to it over like hundreds of times every day for months. Like they probably don't want to hear it anymore.
It's like I listened. I put on Visitors Pomp just to like remember what it sounded like when I came down here, because since the release date, I definitely, because like you have to listen to it so many times, mixing and tweaking things, and by the time you put it out, it's like very much dead to you. Yeah. So it's like I like listen to it in the car on the way down here just to be like, oh, this was fun. You know?
To like review it.
It's good to like give yourself some time and then return to it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, this was actually really bad. You know? But you get different perspective, you know.
Did you mix it?
James McCaffrey mixed it.
Okay.
The guitar player from Karmic.
Gotcha.
So he's the one who like is doing most of the grass record at the hangar, producing and engineering and like mixing and stuff.
So I was listening to the first Karmic Juggernaut like full album. There's that one like PSA kind of thing.
Oh yeah, the WKRM emergency broadcast.
That's it says like from the hangar, right?
Is it from the? I think it's just from our imaginary radio station.
Oh, I thought it was saying broadcasting from the hangar.
Label on all the albums is WKRM.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like a fictional radio station in some kind of like post-apocalyptic environment.
Some Fallout shit.
Yeah, it's like if a free-form radio station or nonprofit like WFMU, like the apocalypse happened, but they just like kept broadcasting because they had nothing else to do. You know, that's kind of what we're going for with WKRM.
Never mind. There's
WFMU is a great radio station. Also, I don't know if you guys have ever.
Yeah.
WFMU.
Yeah. That's like my absolute favorite radio station.
I can't remember the last time I listened to the radio.
Yeah.
You have to
what
like
station?
In order to get it on the actual radio, you have to be like as far north as like Red Bank, kind of.
Oh, I live in
and then
Red
you
Bank.
get it like up to the city.
What station is it?
91.1. At least if you're like in that area.
I've definitely listened. I take that back. I think I've listened to this radio station multiple times. I think like when I would do construction work or something. But yeah, no, they have good stuff.
They're great. Yeah, every time I turn on WFMU, I hear some like wild shit that I've never heard before, and it's like they play a lot of very strange stuff. This is awesome that they get to be on the radio. Because, like they play the strangest stuff all day long.
It's interesting. I know, like back in the day, like being an indie musician or an indie band, getting radio time was like a huge deal. Yeah. But I wonder how like significant it is still like anymore, because I feel like not a lot of people like. Yeah. I mean, it's a great thing.
I mean,
it's a great victory.
Definitely good.
It would be good. Yeah, I think the Rat still owes Karmic Juggernaut, I believe, like 5 minutes of airplay or something. Like a battle of the bands they did.
Oh hell yeah!
16, and like the Rat never like hit them up or anything.
Your Rat, what the fuck?
So we were talking to rehearsal the other day how funny it would be to like just show up at the Rat and be like, we demand
our 5 minutes.
Give us our 5 minutes on the Rat.
With like a legal team, like 4 dudes, like, briefcases, ties.
You guys owe us this airplay. And we're all like adults now. Like, that'd be really fun.
When was that from that happened?
It was way before I was in the band. They were like in high school. I think they did, you remember Chubby's in Red Bank?
Yeah. Wait.
It was they had a lot of like local shows there.
No, I actually don't think I do.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
They played a show at Chubby's. It was like a battle of the bands, and they won it. And they were supposed to get like some cash or something and like airtime on the Rat, and they didn't get either.
Oh my god,
got the cash or the airplay. And you know, they're like kids. They didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
But now that it's like 10 years later, it'd be funny if we just got like real mad about it.
Just like picket line outside of the Rat.
Until they play Karmic Juggernaut.
Yeah.
Which would never fit in with anything they play on there anyway, but it'd be funny.
Yeah, it was funny. I was talking to Joe earlier. I was listening to Karmic Juggernaut at work, and my boss comes up and he's like, are you trying to send me on an acid trip at 10 o'clock in the morning? I was like,
yeah, basically.
Do you not want to go on one right now?
Is that a problem?
Because like, I do.
Yeah. Pomp is very fun.
Yeah.
James has been like the band, sort of the band leader for, I don't know if he's officially the band leader, but like he's definitely spearheaded that project for so long. It's been like well over 10 years. I feel like it might be getting towards 15 years that band has been around.
Wow.
So I've been in it for like, what was it? It's 2021. I think I joined it in like 2013. So like 7-8 years. So like it's still not even like, it's about half of how long the band's even been around.
Damn.
Because they put out Albino Rhino when they were like kids, like babies, you know?
Damn.
It's crazy, man.
It's weird how long that band's been around. It's kind of bizarre.
What would you say like the secret to band longevity is?
With Karmic, I think, you know, they're just homies from back in the day, you know? They've been friends since high school. They know how to deal with each other. Any interpersonal issues that happened just get resolved real quick by just yelling at each other. It's like fine.
Just gotta beef it out sometimes.
Yeah, I think just like talking about things and not letting things boil up
Right.
You know.
Communication, like in every aspect of life.
Yep.
The last thing that I had that I wanted to talk about a little bit more was this like post-apocalyptic kind of feel of like a lot of your music. Is that like a lot of influence from like movies you saw as a child, like growing up?
That's
or
a good question.
What's that like? Not infatuation, but like
I don't know.
Interest.
Yeah, I honestly, I mean, the woodpecker thing with the gas mask. I'm trying to remember where I got the gas mask. Yeah, I don't really have a good explanation for that. The gas mask is also
cool
sort of a Zappa thing. It's like he would have people wearing gas masks on stage and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. My gas mask is signed by Gillian Anderson, who played Scully on the X-Files. So maybe it's kind of nice.
Is that where Scully got her name?
Oh yeah. She's named after Agent Scully.
Interesting.
I think all those bands kind of give me post-apocalyptic vibes, even with just like the name. Yeah, it's like Karmic Juggernaut. It's like Karma.
Homeless Apians is definitely an end of the world environmental disaster themed.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess that is kind of a theme. I don't know.
It's kind of weird. And like we used to cut the grass. I think like you said, it's kind of sounds like you're pondering about the world before. And then,
yeah, for sure. I don't know. I mean, it just, it's a vibe.
Yeah, it's a vibe. It really is.
Yeah.
Thank you, scientist sounds sarcastic because it's like science like destroyed the world or something. I don't know.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Thanks a lot, dude.
Do you know the story behind that name?
That one I can for sure say that there is no story. Like Tom gets that question a lot, and it's just like I just thought it sounded nice.
That's great.
Although I guess it's a line in Half Baked. A lot of people ask us if it's related to the movie Half Baked.
No,
but it's not.
Interesting.
Yeah,
kind of reminds me of there's this like British kind of electro math rock kind of band from back in the day. It's called All Right the Captain, and kind of has the same vibe, kind of rhythm to it. Those are really cool. Just like sometimes weird shit, just like it has no story. It sounds cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Joe, do you have anything else?
I mean, I think I talked about or asked everything I wanted to.
Yeah, I think I emptied my clip. So on the note of that, what is the best band name that you've ever heard?
The best band name I've ever heard. Jeez. Anal Cunt?
Really?
You ever heard of that?
Nope.
That's probably the one for me.
Anal Cunt.
Yeah.
All right, you heard it here.
Legendary.
Anal Cunt. All right, I would write that down, but I think I'll just look it up.
If you want to pass 15 minutes doing something fun on your phone, just look up their song titles.
Oh my God, I can only imagine.
Unbelievable.
That sounds amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, they're kind of a tragic punk band.
Yeah, you can't be
Sounds
anything.
like a punk band.
You can't be anything else. You have to be a punk band if that's your band name. I feel like it sounds familiar because like I always get a good laugh out of psycho punk band names, so I feel like I've seen that one before. What are some examples?
They have the most brutal song titles.
I don't know if I should say it, honestly.
No, they're like kind of unspeakable. You don't have to say it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to.
Hold on, can I take a preview real quick?
Just look
this album, Defenders of Hate.
Yeah, for the listeners at home, feel free to Google it on your own time. Don't share it with your friends.
Oh my God.
It's very offensive.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that.
All right. Yeah, no, that's...
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Holy shit.
Everyone needs a little hatred in their life, right?
I mean, it's punk rock. It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, first of all, how fucking long is this album? That's crazy.
How many songs? I was just showing you.
21 songs on this album.
They're short.
I'm assuming, yeah. I guarantee you each of them are like 30 seconds. 20 minutes. This is a 20 minute. Oh my God.
It's like a minute. Jesus. Well, I'll be sure to listen to that. One thing. Speaking of taking some time, have you ever heard of the Caretaker album?
I don't think so.
Ooh, I think you would really appreciate it. We talked to Serge Pierce the Beach about it.
Oh, yes, yes.
It's an album. Basically,
that thing was wild. Oh my God.
Did you listen to it?
I didn't listen to the whole thing. I was not in a headspace to go through that. It was really, really cool.
Lot.
Okay.
Like a lot, like emotionally. But it's a like 6 to 7 hour, 6-part like rendition of basically the process of having Alzheimer's.
Oh,
And, like,
jeez.
yeah, so it's someone who like was taking care of people who had Alzheimer's, and he like put it into music.
That's cool. I actually saw a composition by someone that was about Alzheimer's too, where like the conductor was, I forget the name of the composer, but the conductor was like losing control of the orchestra, and that was like the thing that the piece was like all about.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, my grandmother, who passed away like 2 years ago, had like really bad dementia.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister, who's like a screenwriter, did this like podcast, this like fictional podcast about it. So it's definitely a subject that I'm like very familiar with.
Yeah,
But I'll check it out.
What's the fictional podcast?
It was when she was writing for a podcast called The Truth, which I think sometimes gets played on Radiolab, maybe.
That sounds really familiar.
She wrote a few episodes for them.
Is there like an episode name you can give me?
The one that she wrote that was kind of popular was called The One About the Dead Dog, but that's not the Alzheimer's one. I can't remember the name of the Alzheimer's one. But if you look up The Truth and you look up Diana McCorry, I think you'll be able to find it.
Oh, it's really cool.
All right, so
The Caretaker, though, I'll check that out.
yes.
Sure. That's the band name? What's the band? The composer.
Here, do you want to tell everyone where to find your bands and everything, and I
Sure.
will find that.
Yeah. Plug everything you got going on.
I did my best to like organize everything at codymccorry.com. If you go there, you should be able to find everything else.
Gotcha.
There's a lot of buttons. There's a lot of links and pictures, and hopefully it will make sense.
Right on. Will everything be codymccorry.com? And we can throw a link in somewhere, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
Like
no,
on
I'll throw it in the description.
You feel free to just link to the music video for Visitors Pomp.
Yeah, I was gonna
whatever you
say,
wanna do.
check out Visitors Pomp. It's probably one of my favorite things that has happened recently.
Thanks, man. That's
Of
fun.
course. It's The Caretaker is the name of the artist, I guess.
Okay,
and it's
cool.
called Everywhere at the End of Time, stage 1 to 6 complete. I'll send it to you.
Cool.
But yeah, guys, go stream Visitors Pomp 1 and 2. Check out the music video. It's fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, as you alluded to earlier, some Thank You Scientists coming soon, maybe.
Oh, yeah. There'll be new Thank You Scientists, new Karmic Juggernaut, all in the near future.
Ooh.
Lovely.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah.
Lovely jubbly.
Ooh-wee.
And the rest of the album for We Just Cut the Grass.
Yeah. Do we have a
Release date?
time?
I wish.
Me too.
Yeah.
I've been wishing for 5 years.
It's closer than it ever has been. I can tell
Amazing.
you that much.
You got a
Isn't
taste,
that?
bro.
Isn't
Yeah.
that? Can you say that every day though?
Yes. I literally just
So
said nothing.
Tomorrow it will be closer than.
Yeah. Tomorrow it will be even closer. The day after
Just
that.
keep Visitors Pump on.
Yeah,
loop,
on
bro.
repeat. Like I do it, so can you, right?
Yeah, of course.
On that note, thank you,
No, thank
my
you guys,
friend.
man.
This
Thank you
was
very much, man.
incredible.
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah, guys, check them out.